All right, cool. We're live, back in action after a giant break. Um, episode 5, Grappling with Coaching. I've got Joey Boretski on today. He runs Limitless Edmonton. So if you're ever in the Edmonton area in Canada, definitely hit up his gym. It's fantastic. And we're just going to chat today. It's always my go-to. That's actually pretty much the only reason I ever go to Edmonton. But
Well, we love having you when you're here, man.
yeah. So what's new with you? What's going on in your
Oh,
world?
not a whole lot. Just finished the Christmas break. You know how it is over Christmas. Classes are small. Getting back in it now though. Trying to work off those Christmas pounds. I put the gi back on for the first time in like probably 3 weeks on Monday, and it was a lot tighter than I would like my gi to be. So some work to do here.
Yeah. um, we were talking a while ago. There were going to be some changes to your kids program potentially because you're. I think your coach was leaving. So
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
going on with that?
The person I had teaching our kids program, they moved away, so we had to find a new person. So like, just so people know, like, I don't teach my kids program. I'm not like, it's not that I don't like it or that. It's just I'm not the best guy in the world with kids. Like, I don't understand them. I don't have kids. It's not necessarily my thing. So I always want to make sure it's really important to me that when you're running a kids program, you can't have a coach who doesn't want to be there. They've got to actually want to be there, want to do it, and it's got to be their thing. It just so happens that we have someone at our gym who coaches a kids program through like because our gym's very close to like a military base. They have like a military program. I have no idea what it is, but they have a class there a couple nights a week. So I was like, hey, the other 3 nights a week, would you be interested in teaching at our place? And he was like super thrilled at the idea.
Nice.
And he's been doing a wonderful job so far. So
Awesome. That's always nice when you can find someone who can put their 100% towards it, right?
yeah,
Like that's why I stopped teaching striking at my place and I just went 100% grappling because it's like, man, I'm spinning too many plates. I want to put 100% of my passion in the grappling. And then when we reopen the striking, it's because I found someone who's willing to do it with CLA, but could put 100% of their passion towards that program, right? So
yeah.
that's
I mean, I think that's something a lot of coaches like, or a lot of gyms kind of struggle with, where there's almost this like perception that if you're the coach, you have to run everything. Like, you have to be in charge of everything. You're the gym owner, you're the head instructor or whatever. Like, you can't outsource to other people. And the reality is, at the end of the day, like, I only have so much effort and time.
yeah,
And if I'm not going to be able to put 100% into the kids class, then I'm actually doing them a massive disservice
yeah,
by running it myself rather than finding an instructor who is very competent. I mean, he's very good. We've had hundreds of hours of experience with me just talking with him about coaching, going through stuff. He's, very interested in becoming a better coach long term.
nice.
Um, so he cares a lot about learning how to do it and learning, getting feedback. Obviously he's been my student for quite a while as well. So like heavy influence from the stuff I do, the
Mhm.
games we play, the way we approach things from like a conceptual standpoint. But he's able to give way more to that program than I would be, because it's just, it's a time management thing and it's a commitment thing. I don't have the time or the ability to do it. I have to focus on my adult students and my adult classes. So I'm really lucky to have someone who like genuinely cares, and the kids are probably better off for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel you. Because when I first opened the place, like I did the youth kickboxing, the adult kickboxing, youth jujitsu, and adult jujitsu, right? And it's like, fuck. You'd be like, okay, I need a lesson plan for 4 different classes, and then you'd modify it pretty much every day, and it was too much. So then
It is.
when I nixed the striking, it was way more manageable. And like nowadays, I'm not. Like I basically have one class, and that's the class for the week right now. Is how I'm running it, right? And then the kids program is just scaled a little bit differently, but it's generally the same nuts and bolts at the moment, right? So then that makes it real simple. And then by the end of the week, they pretty well know what they're doing. Aside from the ones where it's like, oh, this is my first time this week, right? Um, So it's super handy that way. Uh,
Interesting. So do you run your classes like the Monday class you run like a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday would be like very, very similar classes in terms of like the tasks and the games?
exact same class. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've
Interesting.
I've done it both ways. I've done it where I've like really changed it up throughout the week. Um, Especially when you take into considerations of like, oh man, if you're doing like the nitty gritty of a head and arm choke all week, those are going to be some sore necks, right? Um, but I've also done it, and right now this is how I'm doing it. Is just, it's the same class the entire week, right? So then you just have to keep in mind, obviously, if you're doing submissions, how can you scale it just a little bit differently or whatever so you don't have overuse injuries. But most of my crew, I don't have too many people who train much above 3 times a week anyway, right? So like overuse injuries and bagging themselves is never a problem because most of them are hobbyists, right?
No, actually, we do something very, very similar at our gyms. Like, I typically run about 6 games a night as part of our class. Um, Monday would be like six. Mondays are like, this is an intro to whatever concept or whatever idea or whatever position we're playing with. Here's 6 really basic games, small tasks, pretty manageable, kind of getting people used to it. Tuesday will probably be like 4 or 5 of the same games. Now, like if some of them are like really small tasks, I might combine 2 of them into one game and be like, you know, it's still pretty simple. You guys have done it. It's just an extra point of focus within the same game. And I might add like one new game in. Wednesday will be kind of the same as Tuesday, and then Thursday, especially if a bunch of the people have already been there this week, I might combine another game and add a second new game to the list. But overall, it's pretty much the same idea all week.
Yeah.
I've tried a bunch of stuff, like you said too, and this seems to work the best. I mean, would it be different if we had like a Division 1 college wrestling room where you're going to have the same people in every single day? They're going to be at these practices. It's scheduled. I can really scaffold from like Monday to Tuesday because I know it's the same people every time and they were there. I don't have that luxury. I'll have people show up once a week and they're in on Wednesday. And if I've scaffolded from Monday and Tuesday, they're lost if we start on Wednesday. So I really like the idea of just like, listen, guys, this is the week. You know, it is what it is. If you've been there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, guess what? Thursday ain't going to be that much different, but it's just more time on task. And I think it's also useful because, like, when we get to Thursday, if you're not any better at this thing by Thursday, you know, we have to figure out why. Like it's a good indicator for me. By the end of a week, I can tell like if you actually built some skills over the course of the week or built at least some ideas of like how to approach the situation. If you're approaching it the exact same Monday to Thursday, something went wrong somewhere along the way.
Yeah, like I haven't really had anyone complain about it. I've had some of the teenagers just now, like this has been a month and a half we've been running it this way, and I had some teenagers just now realize, hey, we did this already. I'm like, yeah, we do the same class the entire week. Did you just notice? Like, especially because we're upstairs right now, because half my gyms has no heat, so we're all upstairs, and then they can see my whiteboard for my lesson plan now. So it's like, notice how it hasn't changed, bro. You know, but I like it too because it really gives them the chance to, and they want to be able to get better at the skills, and it gives them that opportunity, right? Because if you say have someone and this is the first time they've ever entangled legs and they've started an entanglement, like, damn, that kind of looks like dog shit. It feels like dog shit. It's really weird, right? And then they kind of walk away like, fuck, that was really hard. And then they get to do it again the next day if they come, or the next day. And then that by the end of the week, they're like, oh, I can really see how I started and felt awful. And now it's like I'm doing the thing with some level of skill, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's nice in that respect too. It really gives them a lot of time on task.
Yeah, and I think it's nice because like you come in Monday, you're like, oh man, like I wasn't really good at whatever we were working on today. Like I said, maybe we're playing with leg entanglements. It's like, I kind of sucked at these. Like I couldn't get any of this shit to work. It was terrible. I'm not I'm not good at it. And then they go home and they're thinking, they're like, oh, maybe like I could have tried this, I could have done that. Well, guess what, man? Tomorrow we get to work on it. Like all those ideas you had overnight, or you're like, oh, I wish I'd done this, or I wish I'd done that. We're literally gonna get to do it tomorrow, and you can try those things and see if it works, as opposed to like, oh, I really sucked at that. I hope in 4 weeks when we do the same thing, I remember the stuff I wish I'd done differently. It's like, hey man, we got the chance. If you're in tomorrow, we'll fix it. And my students know I'm pretty open with them. Like sometimes they'll shoot me a message if they're like, hey, I really sucked at that thing we did tonight. Do you have any tips or whatever? I'll be like, yeah, man. Tomorrow, like, try this. Think about this. Here's some ideas. Here's a video you can watch of someone doing it really well. See if you can pull some information for what they're doing there.
Yeah.
Now come try it tomorrow, and then try it the next day. We got a whole week of it.
Yeah. Well, and too, like, because you have a whole week, right? Like, um, maybe you're really good with one individual, and then the next day you're paired with another individual. So now you get to, hey, am I really good how I perceived in that position, or is it just with that one particular person, right? How does this person react? Like, yeah, give them that novelty throughout the week as well. And it's been working really nice for us.
Do you force them to switch from day to day, or do you let them go with the same partner?
I'm not really a forced kind of guy, but I have told them, like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're running the same thing. You're going to be stuck with your partner for this class, but my expectation is next time you grab someone else. Right now, we're running some mixed ages classes because, again, we only have one mat space and we have to share the space with the kickboxing program. So I have an all ages class. So I have like one of my white belts. He's training with his daughter right now because he's playing basketball and he kind of hurt his knee. Right, so they're just buddying up because they're kind of close to the same size, actually. And the girl, like, she competes, and we call her the pressure queen because she just melts people. It's hilarious, right? So they've been buddied up and haven't really split off too much, but I'm just allowing it to happen because it's like, okay, like, the guy's kind of nursing his knee, but he wants to still train, right? So I'm not like, hey, you have no choice, but I am telling them that my expectation is you're changing partners every different class and get the different looks, right? Because we all know, like, you're with the same partner all the time. You kind of get used to them and you can figure out what to do, or maybe they're weak in an area, and yeah, just introducing that variability somehow, right?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Like you have to try it with different partners. If you're just playing with the same person every time, there's a feedback mechanism here that we're not testing. We're just, you know, you said it much nicer than I did. I'd say, are you really good at that thing, or did that guy just suck? Like,
Yeah.
you know, uh, I have students all the time who maybe they'll compete and they'll be like, oh, I went into this competition and I hit this super cool move. Like, I'm getting better at it. I'm like, are you, or did that guy just suck? Because I watched that match and, like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be mean, but like, that's a question to ask yourself. Did you really feel like you were better, or you got better, or did you feel like that guy just wasn't very good? And the only way we can figure that out is by trying it with more bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. How consistently can you have that outcome with a variety of different humans, right? So that's a huge thing. Yeah, because there's things that I can do to certain individuals, and then I try it to other individuals. It's like, that doesn't really work, whether it's body type, skill level, whatever the case is, or they're just ass in that one area. Like, that's 100% a thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I still feel it. I'm like 16, 17 years into grappling, and I still get that where I feel like I'm getting better at something, and then I'll try it with someone I know is good. Like, I get this a lot with our wrestling coach at our gym, where I'm working on a position. I'm like, man, I feel like I've gotten so good at this, and then I try it with him, and I'm like, nope, still suck, still suck.
That good old reality check. It's like, fuck, I've been murking everyone with this, especially like me being like, I don't have upper belts in my gym outside of blue belts, and like I really have to travel, so it's like I can do some pretty goofy shit. And it's like that's why I try and travel and train with people like you and all kinds of other people so much, because it's like I gotta make sure I'm not just cramming my toolbox full of shit here.
No, it's super important. I mean, I've got a lot of students who they'll cross train at other gyms. And I've had this conversation with a lot of them where they're like, "Are you cool with me cross training?" I'm like, not only am I cool with it, I actually highly encourage it. I think it's like almost necessary if you really want to be good, because even within a gym, we talked about rolling with the same person giving you bad feedback because they have their own habits and tendencies, and maybe you're making a bunch of mistakes or a bunch of errors that can be punished, and you just don't know because your partner's not skilled enough in that area to show you the problems with what you're doing or punish you for the things you're doing. The only way to find that out is to roll with different people from different gyms, because gyms in themselves can have issues. I know I was at a gym before where the head coach really liked knee slide passing.
Mm.
Everyone at that gym was actually like pretty damn good at knee slide passing, and pretty good at stopping knee slide passes because it was so popular within the gym. Everyone kind of got good at doing it and good at stopping it. And I was like, dude, I just fucking suck at knee slide passing. Like, I don't know what's going on here. And then, you drop into another gym and I'm knee slide passing everyone. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I thought I sucked at this. And just no, the gym I was at had such robust defense to that because it was so popular. They saw it all the time. I don't get that feedback if I don't go to a gym or compete against people from another gym who maybe don't come from that same environment. It's like, I think cross training is incredibly valuable the same way switching partners within a gym is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, no, it's huge. Like, as especially with a lot of the more traditional gyms where they're showing the techniques, like so many people who teach, like the instructors, like they're just giving their best stuff and they're making little mini me's out of a lot of their students, right? So you see that a lot, especially like back in the day. Like you saw that so much because it's like, oh, this person's known for this, all their students are good at that, and there was not much that broke the mold, right? So then, yeah, you go to a gym and oh, they're really good for this other gym is good for this, whatever the case is. Now, I think most people try not to do that, at least if you're thinking about coaching. And the way like we coach now, it's like, how the fuck does that even emerge, right? Because they're figuring out their own solutions outside of, I mean, there are going to be potential biases for how you design your game sometimes too, right? Like I have a bias towards pressure and I know it, but like I will try and counteract that and like, okay, much like how Greg has, it's like maybe we're not going chest to chest, right? We're just standing in these engagements, right? But I think there's less room for that to happen when you use CLA. But I agree. Like I try and send my people to cross train whenever possible. What was that? That was weird.
Oh, hold on. I think it's my fucking firm. 1 second. My furnace kicked on.
Okay, no worries. Oh, now I can't hear you.
There we go. Better? There we go.
Perfect. Yeah.
My computer room is very close to my furnace, and every now and then,
Oh, okay. No worries.
more often than
But
not, that thing is kicking in.
yeah. But yeah, I try and get my people to cross train as much as they can. Same with me because yeah, like you never know what might emerge from that. Like other gyms are really good at some things, or maybe they just look at some things different perspectives, and like go test yourself. Especially at a small gym, like we don't have a big gym, we don't have a lot of bodies necessarily, right? So like it is really easy to like, oh, I know everyone's game. So how do you bring something new into that system? Well, you either get people visiting, which we're having a lot more visitors nowadays, which is super cool, or you go visit other people, right? So yeah, I'm always trying to push people, and like I'll have students, they'll go to Regina for a little bit and they'll literally try and tour as many gyms as they humanly can. And I'll give my suggestions of like, hey, I think this gym's really good for this. This gym runs a good CLA practice. There's not many of those out here. This gym is good for this. We're good buddies with them, or whatever the case is, right? And then they kind of just pick their favorite or run the gambit of gyms or whatever they want to do, right? But it's good. It's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I tell my students the only time I'll ever tell them not to go to another gym is if there's like, and I've had this happen before where like a bunch of my students go to a gym, they're rolling with some guy and they're like, hey, this guy's got fucking ringworm or something. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, like, if there's a safety risk here or you're going to expose yourself to a safety risk and then bring that back to our gym, like, I'm not going to tell you you can't do it. I don't own you. I can't do that, but I'm going to highly recommend, like I would prefer you didn't because of the safety risk. But if you're going to do it, we got to be really careful. You got to mind it, know that if you do get some sort of skin issue, I'm going to boot you off our mats for a bit. Or the other issue is, there's certain gyms that guys go to and it's like, hey, I've had 4 of my guys drop into this gym and somehow 3 of them have come back injured. So, maybe like this isn't the safest environment or like, we have to figure out what's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are really the only times I'll tell people not to cross train. And it's again, not being like, don't cross cross train. It's like, hey, go cross train, but like again, we have to go to places that are going to be safe, going to be
Yeah.
clean. Pick your
Yeah.
gym, cross train at good places. I'm sure you as a coach have the same thing where you're like, there's certain gyms maybe I wouldn't steer someone towards for whatever reason.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I have my recommendations, my suggestions, and like, hey, this would be my top pick. These would be whatever. Like these people are really fun. They're really nice. Uh, these people hate me. Maybe don't go here.
We both know about that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely both we might both know about that issue.
Yeah. I get along pretty well. It's nice because Saskatchewan being such a sprawling area and we are like not close to each other, we don't seem to have a lot of, at least in a rural aspect like myself, I don't have a lot of those weird political, we're in the same city and we fucking hate each other. Because like the Regina gyms maybe seem to have that with each other a little bit more than we do. But at the same time, it's like there's sometimes people don't get along, whether it's at tournaments or just because I have a loud mouth on the internet or whatever the case is. And there might be a gym or two where it's, be careful if you go there. They might not give you a warm welcome, but they also might. Like, I'm not telling people to explicitly don't go there. Just like, hey, just be careful if you do go there, because I don't know, I, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we have people. There's I'll be honest. There's some gym owners, coaches that I don't necessarily get along with the best in our city. But
Yeah,
anytime any of their students drop into my gym, like there's an understanding that like when they're here, like if they're a student, it's not their coach's fault. I get along with the students. I like a lot of them. They're to be treated well in the gym. If any of my
yeah,
students start trying to treat them poorly, like that's going to be a big fucking issue with me.
yeah.
I expect the same if my students were to drop into those gyms, but maybe not everyone conducts themselves with the same kind of standard of like when someone steps into your gym, it's your responsibility to make sure they leave here safe, not to like send a message to their coach or whatever.
Nice.
Shit. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's crazy.
with all the issues of the jiu-jitsu community, there are definitely some coaches that maybe don't operate with the highest of moral standards, let's say. So you kind of got to be careful that way about where you're going and who you're going to see. But yeah, I'm usually pretty good. My students are usually pretty like smart about where they go and how often they go and who they go. And again, also at the same time, like most of them can handle themselves. Like if the roles get rough, they know to just be like, hey man, listen, I'm an adult. I'm not doing this. Like it's not worth
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. No, I think most gyms are going to be good, and there might be a couple bad eggs, but I don't think it's always the gyms. I'm sure they exist, and like I have an open door policy. People can come train with us whenever, and they're not gonna. If their coach is a dickhead and I don't like him, cool. That's their coach. That's between their coach and me. And honestly, it's not even that big of a deal if that would. Sometimes people just don't get along. It's not a big deal, right? But I love people coming and visiting, and I try and be as nice as possible, right? So
I'm always nice to anyone who comes in my door. Like we have an open door
yeah,
policy too. I don't have like a drop in fee, which surprises a lot of people. I mean, we've had
yeah,
over the Christmas break, had a bunch of guests come in for like 4 or 5 classes, and they're like, "How much money do I owe you?" And I'm, not a penny, man. Like it's fine. You're here dropping in. My only like caveat for drop-ins is you have to be a member somewhere. Uh,
mhm,
like I don't care if you like where you're a member, but you have to be a member somewhere. Um, just a personal thing. I want to know that like you're following at least some gym standard. Like if you come into my gym and I know where you're a member and you start acting like a fool, or you've got like staff or something, I can message your gym's coach and be like, hey, just so you know, one of your dudes is showing up to these gyms, you know, covered in ringworm, trying to train. Like you might want to
yeah,
address that policy. So you got to be a member somewhere. But like we let people in all the time, and I'll treat them all super well. Take my time. We go out. I go out of my way all the time to like show people stuff. They'll ask a question. I'll be like, oh yeah, this is what I would do. I
yeah,
don't promise not to tell you if your coach is an idiot if he's told you really dumb shit. I'm not promising that. I might be mean about that, but I will still treat you. I tell people all the time, like, listen, I'm sure your coach means well. He just has no idea what he's talking
mhm.
about. It's okay. It's okay. Like, you can now go correct him. See how that goes. Let me know how that conversation goes. Shoot me a message later.
Yeah. No, that's a good. I think that's a good policy, something to keep in mind because sometimes you just have those renegades who don't go to one gym and they just kind of gym hop, or you have those dudes who have just been banned from four other gyms and they're continuing to gym hop. And yeah, having kind of an understanding of where do you come from, especially in my area. It's like I generally know all the gyms. I know again who their coaches are, so it's like, oh, I trained with so and so. Like, okay, I generally I know generally how that gym runs and cool, right? There's like an understanding there.
Yeah, and
So,
that's kind of why we have that policy. Also, like you know, if you want to get better, you got to be a member somewhere. Like I can help you, but like I don't want these guys who are just like training at 7 different gyms a week, 7 classes, popping into my gym and like asking me like after a class, like, oh, like can you go over all this stuff? And it's like, man, like you need a coach who can do that for you. Like I encourage all my students to cross train, but at the end of the day, like I am their coach. Like they can ask other people when they go to these other gyms for tips and stuff, but like there is a baseline level of stuff that like you should be getting from your coach and not wasting other people's time for free. Like, you're an instructor, you're a gym owner, I'm an instructor, I'm a gym owner. Our time is valuable. I shouldn't have to do an hour and a half after open mat teaching someone the idea of posture because they refuse to go to a gym or pay a membership at a gym and have a coach teach them that posture is important. They
yeah.
just show to open mats. It's like you got to pay someone, man. I don't care if it's me or someone else, but you got to pay someone.
Yeah, I don't expect free private lessons every time you drop into a place, right? Like, and on it, like most jujitsu coaches are probably pretty nice and they'll probably do that. But if it's the third time and it's like, dog, I'm here to roll. Like, I don't want to give you a private every time. Like, yeah, yeah, time to get a coach.
Yeah, especially at the open mats. Like that's it's an open mat. It's kind of my
Yeah,
time. I'm trying to, I'm teaching 6, 7 days a week, so the open mat's kind of my time to do my own thing. Now, for my own students who do pay me money, yeah, if they got a question, like we'll go off and we'll deal with it. But like
yeah,
that's because they're my customers. I owe them this as
yeah.
a coach. It's my responsibility. But if anything else I do is out of the goodness of my heart. Open mat days, I kind of just want to show up and beat some people up, man. Like I want to have some fun too.
Well, yeah, those are our like development days a lot of times because I'm quite sure like you're the same with me. When we're teaching, we're not doing the games, right? And like, so when do we get better? It's those periods where we're rolling. It's those open mats. It's when we get to go to other gyms, right? And it's good and fine if people have questions, but like I think your crew and my crew would probably be pretty understanding of like, oh, this is coach's time to work. Let's give him that time first because they're part of the team and they get it. And now you have someone who's maybe not part of a team at all. And I'd also question like, if you're just hopping from all these gyms, why? Because I've met some individuals and their mindset basically is always like, what can the gym, what can these people do for me? And it's never what can I do for them? And not like we're asking them to come and clean the mats and wash and do crazy shit, but it's like, no, like as a teammate, you should be kind of invested in your other teammates at the same time.
Mhm.
It's an individual sport, but there is a team aspect to it, right? At least in my eyes, with a healthy team culture, there should be, you
Yeah, I
know?
mean, you can't get better without another body to work with. So
Yeah.
if we don't have a vested interest in our training partners, how are we going to get better? I mean, I always tell people like the best way to get better is help your training partners become better because then they can push you in different ways. Like if you're really good at something, the best thing you can do, like I've got a couple of young guys who are like getting pretty good at leg locks. And I'm like, man, the best thing you can do for your training partners is leg lock the shit out of them all over the place as much as you can. But anytime they ask you how you did it or how you do this or how you would defend that, tell them, help them grow because then they're going to get really good at dealing with these leg entanglements and these leg locks. And then it's going to make you get better at attacking. Uh, like don't hide these like secret things from your partners. And I know you probably have the same thing I do where like even when we do get to roll, probably like 90 to 95% of the rolling I do isn't for me. It's not like what am I trying to get better at? What am I doing? It's like, oh hey, this guy is competing next weekend. I know he's struggled with this in the past, so I'm just going to do this with him because I want him to get better. Or, this guy's working on this area. Well, I'm going to give him resistance in that area and push him because I have a similar thing to you. I've got some purples and we get some other higher belts who drop in every now and then. But for the most part, my gym is like whites, blues, purples. If I got a
Mm.
purple belt who's working on something, it might work really well against white and blue belts, but I'm like, how well does it work on someone who's really good at that? So I'm going to let you do the thing you're trying to do with a high level of like resistance and defensive structures. If I've got purple belt who's working on leg locks, he's pretty good at them. Okay, well, put me in a leg lock, man. Like, I'm really going to defend. I'm not going to let you have this. I'm really going to work to escape. Let's see if it's working again, just like we talked about earlier. Is it because you're just better at it than your training partner, or is it because you're really good at it? Let's find out. So I'm not doing the thing I want to do. I'm doing what they need. I roll for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's, I don't necessarily like this, the way this is said, but it stuck with me when someone said it. It's like shitty jujitsu works on shitty people, right? So it's like you can, the way I correlate that is like, man, opening a gym as a purple belt and having so many beginners, I could do the stupidest shit to people. Like, Americana with your feet, and I call it the Amerifoota. It was the stupidest thing, right? But that just goes to show if there is a skill gap, you can get away with a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
So then how do you then go and test to see if the Amerifoota is actually a value? It's not. You're fucking with people, right? But like you can also be tricked into thinking that you have some good solutions to problems and that may be maladaptive too, right? So yeah, when do you figure that out? You need to have some higher level bodies to figure that out eventually. Or if you don't, maybe it's when you go compete and you're like, fuck, that didn't work.
No,
Right?
I think competition is super valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been said for a long time, and a lot of times I know some gyms will get mad at me, but if your gym doesn't have at least one or two guys who compete regularly, that should be a big red flag.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be everyone from a gym, but there's got to be at least a couple guys who compete because they're going to bring valuable information back of like, hey, this stuff that that I'm doing really well in here didn't work in competition. And then he's going to go down that rabbit hole of trying to fix it. And in turn, that makes everyone better in the gym.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily, you can start to fix some of those ideas of like an internal meta within a gym. You have guys who compete and test themselves. So like, I don't. It definitely doesn't have to be everybody. I'm not trying to tell people out there like, hey, every student has to compete. But if you're at a gym and there's no competitors, or the coach doesn't like people competing, or even worse, you hear them be like, we train self defense, not competition. Like that's a massive red flag. A
Yeah.
massive red flag.
Yeah. No, I agree. It because as a coach, like I view people going to other gyms because they inevitably come and tell me like how the rounds went, what did they discover and all that stuff. And then competitions, they're litmus tests for me, right? Like is what we're doing actually having the results that I'm seeing in the gym? Because again, like I have a very small sample size, so we need to test that outside sometimes, right? So yeah, competition is huge. I get so much information and feedback when people go to compete, and thankfully, like my youth program has always been very strong. They all seem to have interest in competing, and the adults kind of ebbed and flowed. Like we've had a lot of competitors at times, and it's kind of gone down a little bit in just how things have gone right now. But I'm sure that'll bump back up too. But yeah, it's like Christmas for me because it's like, oh, I get more information. Let's see what we're going to work on for the next month. What's working, what's not, what do we need to tweak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, we're building practices around problems we want them to solve, right? So fantastic. They go out on a high stress situation. What problems could they not figure out? And then how do we help them figure those problems out going forward, right?
I think it's super important. I mean, I've even had students go into competition and I'll tell them like, hey man, listen, I know you can win doing this, but we've been working on this other thing a lot. I want
Yep.
you to do this. Like you're not allowed to submit this guy until you pass his guard. I know you could pull and play your guard and submit this guy from the bottom with like whatever you want to do. You have to pass his guard. I want to see a guard pass because I want to see like we've been working on passing for 3 weeks. Does it work when I put you in a tournament? Like you said, that high stress environment. I've been pretty adamant with this again online for a long time where people say like, oh, well, I train for self-defense. I'm like, probably be more active of a competitor than someone who trains for sport, man. Because if you ever get in a situation for self-defense where you need jujitsu, it's not going to be like rolling on the ground with your friends, having a good time, you're laughing, your buddies, you're safe. It's going to be high stress. And as someone who's competed a lot, let me tell you, man, it is high stress. It takes a long time to get used to it, and that stress really affects your game. I mean, I'm sure every coach in the world can relate that they have guys in their gym where you're like, this guy is amazing, man. He's so good. He's got all the skills. And then when you put them under pressure, not even necessarily that they become worse, but like the decision making changes. Pressure really affects the way you make decisions. I see a guy who's got all this crazy offense, and then I put him in a high stress competition environment where he really cares about the outcome and not making mistakes. And all of a sudden, that offense is gone. It's just, and you ask him after, and it's like that fear of pulling the trigger that, like, well, I didn't want to make a mistake and end up in a bad spot. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
that fear of making a mistake just caused you to not do anything.
You were in a bad spot the whole time, bro. You were making decisions.
I've got one guy in particular. I won't say his name, but he'll know exactly what I'm talking about because he's got the most unique advice I give him. Super talented dude. He's just got his purple belt, was a blue belt. If he wasn't like 140 pounds, this dude would beat the shit out of me. I think he's tapped me more than anyone in our gym. It's unreal. Like, he doesn't realize how good at grappling he is. But when he competed the first few times, like, I was watching him, like, this is not the guy I've rolled with in the gym. This is some other dude. It's like, like, dude, like, I'll be humble here. I'm not the best competitor in the world, but I'm a pretty decent competitive black belt. I'm like, man, you give me real hard rounds, if not beat me. Like, you should be beating up these blue belts, no problem. So I basically just started telling him before these matches, I'm like, dude, I don't care what you do, but you need to do stuff. I don't care if it works. I don't care if it's I don't care if you just like walk up to the guy, shake hands, and cartwheel. Just start doing stuff. And when he does stuff, he just wins matches. And then every now and then you see that, like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake, and it starts slowing down. And I have to yell from the sides, just start doing stuff. Do anything. And other people are like, what kind of coaching advice is this guy giving him? Like, this is what he needs, man. He just
Yeah.
needs someone to be like, don't stop doing your stuff.
Yeah. That's, I mean, again, that's a skill of a coach that maybe we don't talk about. It's knowing our athletes. What do they need and when do they need it, right? Like, that seems like kind of silly. Like, if I heard a coach just start doing something, like, what kind of stuff, bro?
Yeah.
But like, no, like, that's 100% like, yeah. And to your point of, hey, I know you can say pull guard and beat these people, but I want you passing guard. Like, I do that with my people too, right? Like, hey, I know your A game is super sharp, but one day you're going to run into someone who doesn't tolerate your A game and they throw it out. So we need to start pushing those other pathways that you might have and see what those can do, right? Or say with, like, I was talking about the girl who's training with her dad. We call her the pressure queen because she just has a good way of putting people on the ground and then just melting them, right? But it's like, okay, you get to a certain position and then, like, what's the next step? We haven't seen the next step. So then I'm forcing, like, you're not allowed to submit from this position anymore. You need to move on to something else, right? So yeah, like, forcing them in a way of, we know you're capable of doing this, but how do we continue to progress and not just like, now this is our peak for a while, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I use an example I use with my guys is like, imagine the heavyweight boxer that knocks everybody out with the first punch in the fight. Every time he hits the guy, they go down. Well, what happens when you hit the guy and he doesn't go down? Do you have a plan? Do you have the ability to find another way to win? Jiu-jitsu is the same way. If you're the guy who goes in there and just dives on a leg and leg locks everyone in 10 seconds, well, what happens when the guy gets out of the leg lock? Like, do you have
Yeah.
a plan? Like, if you're the guard passing, the pressure queen who just passes guards and smashes people, what happens when you don't pass their guard? Like, what happens when you're struggling? Do you have a plan? Can you win a match if things don't go the way you want them to go?
Yeah.
And I think that's like, that's a skill that even like a lot of really good competitors, like if you watch these like ADCC trials or like the Polaris, these high level events, you see a lot of guys who actually don't have that skill where like they come into a match with a plan on how they want this to go and what they need to do. And when it doesn't go the way they want, like they can't win matches. And I'm obviously not going to say I'm better than these guys or I'm criticizing them if they don't know what they're doing. It's really, really hard to win matches at those kinds of level. But like, if we want to be the best we can be, we do have to work on those areas where it's like, maybe I am maybe you're the wrestler who just takes everyone down, you pass guards and you dominate on top, and then you run into someone who's just a better wrestler than you. We have to be able to win that match from the bottom, because there's always going to be someone better than you at whatever area you're doing. Like, there's one person in the world who's the best wrestler. There's one person in the world who's the best leg locker. Like, unless you're that one person, we need to be able to win in other ways. So, like, it's silly not to go try to do that and see if it works.
Yeah, because I think there's hopefully this doesn't sound too arrogant. I think there is a pathway, especially for beginners and white belts and whatnot, where you can get them to have a very strong like set of this is what we're going to do to win, and generally it's going to do really, really well. Just in my experience, I found I just have an idea, right? But if we just stick to that forever, then what? Right? Like I think Josh Beam, he's a YouTuber. I think he explicitly like called this out for himself. He's like, I got really good in certain areas because that's what won me competitions all the time. And then I, got to purple belt or whatever, and it was like, oh fuck, I have a lot of holes in other areas. And now people are starting to really capitalize on those holes because this worked for me for so long, and now I've got to pick up all these other skills. And like, yeah, as a coach, it'd be really just too easy to like, oh yeah, you keep doing that, keep doing that, keep doing that. But like, instead of stopping them, like, hey, great, you're fantastic there. Let's now start to build other skills in the competition arena, so you don't end up a blue belt who is a one-trick pony, or a purple belt who's just getting outclassed because you can't funnel them to your high-level solutions anymore, right? I think that's important. I think a lot of people maybe shy away from that because they just value the $8 medal more than anything.
Yeah, and I mean, for long-term development, like, you have to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I've always been a pretty proficient leg locker. It's kind of what I'm known for. Most of my matches, I win that way. It's not necessarily by desire. It's just my skill level in that area tends to be higher than most people's skill level in that area. So if I'm trying to win the match, it's kind of silly of me not to go there. I did the ADCC Niagara a few weeks ago. Some of my students went and they roped me into going. The 2 matches I played on bottom trying to leg lock are the 2 matches I lost. The 3 matches I wrestled and played on top were the 3 matches I won. I was like, what the hell's going on here? But sometimes, like, you just have to have that second option. Like, for whatever reason, my bottom game wasn't working that day. And like, it's not about making excuses. Anyone who's ever competed in any sport will tell you, like, some days you just show up and you're like, something's off. Like, it's not feeling good, man. Like, it's just not there. I mean, you see the best players in the world in any sport will have days where you're like, oh, that's, Michael Jordan had games where he put up like 10 points and you're like, what the hell happened? You just didn't have it that night, man. It happens to everyone. Maybe you're sick. Maybe you showed up, you weren't feeling well. You're tired. Maybe there's an injury. It's like, oh, I'm trying to leg lock from the bottom, but one of my knees is a little janky right now. So getting into these leg lock positions is really dangerous for me. You have to have another way to try to win. And for me that day, it was like, hey, listen, I'm not winning from the bottom. So we might as well try something, because this sure as heck ain't working.
Yeah, but you've got a good top game too. Like, I remember when you came to Saskatchewan, you were going up against one of, I think he's a brown belt now, but he's a purple belt at the time, and he's a bigger guy, and like, he competes a ton around here. And it's so funny because everyone knows his game too. You just got on top of him, head and arm choke, and it was just like no one expected that because I think you toe holded everyone else before that, right? So it was really nice to see, like, oh man, I could just choose to go here instead, right? Hopefully you don't mind this, but when we did the super fights, when I put that event on, and you ended up with Nate Bernard, right? Dude, I was biting my tongue so fucking hard that match because like you were doing really well in the leg entanglements, but Nate's a big dude. And then there was just a moment where I'm like, as Joey's friend, I really want to like throw some advice out. But as a guy organizing the event, I need to keep my mouth shut right now. I just wanted to like, bro, get on top. Because you were like, so you wanted to leg lock him, and like that weight, I think, just tired you out after a while. Nate's a big dude. And I'm like, man, if you just got on top, you had the opportunity. I think you could have like pulled that out for sure because, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, again, that
He's
shows
dropped
that
into our
high
gym.
pressure.
He's dropped into my gym a bunch of times. We've rolled. I really like Nate. I think he's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
That's a match that I look back and like again, I'm not saying like, oh, I totally beat him if I do something different. Like he's a very good competitor, and
Yeah.
maybe I lose that every single time. I don't know. But when I look at the strategy I had in that match, that's when I look back at and go, man, I really wish I had just tried something different. I really like after the fourth leg lock that I was like, oh, I've got him, and it just like I'm hearing ankles like popping and shit, and he's just like, okay. I'm like, maybe at some point
Does
I should have
not
been like,
care. Yeah.
this seems to not be working. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I've tried this 6 times. This is not functioning properly. I should probably just, come on top. Like,
Yeah.
most people who don't train with me don't know that. Like, I actually think my top game is significantly better than my bottom game.
Hmm.
But I just play the bottom game. One, because anyone who's also rolled me or knows me well knows that I don't like doing cardio and I really like eating snacks. So I'm not in the greatest of shape. Uh, there's an old quote, I forget where it's from, but someone said, no one's ever been better at grappling than me. They're just better at breathing air. That is definitely something I feel some days.
Yeah.
Yeah, some days I struggle at breathing the air. So I will get tired, and the top game is, to me, a lot more tiring. But I do think I'm better at it, better at the top game than I am on bottom. And it's not all
You
the time I show that, but when I do, a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't know he could do that.
Yeah, like everyone does seem to like really correlate you with lag attacks, especially like in Saskatchewan because they saw you run through the circuit the one time, right? And it was mostly toe holds. But like, dog, that ain't it though. Like his top game is really impressive as well, right? And like even with Nate, like he's a big dude and you don't expect him to be so well um is so skillful at legs too,
Mhm.
right? And he's really good in the legs. Like he competes and goes to ADCC and does fairly well, especially being a Saskatchewan boy, right? And like he's good in the legs. And just I don't know if he just found space when he was with you because yeah, you had some incredible bites and he was just like, eh. And I remember hearing you and him talking after. He's like, "Oh, there's just a little bit of space I found." He's like, "I don't know where the fuck you found that space, bro, because that looked nasty."
I couldn't tell you. I think he invented that space. I don't think he found any space at all, man. I had a couple of those. I'm like, all right, this is done. I'm feeling it twisted. I'm like, there's no way. And then he
Yeah,
like, you know, popped on out, and you're like, okay, I guess.
yeah,
Some
just
people are.
incredible.
But I use that kind of a match as a coach too to tell my guys that like, hey man, like listen, sometimes it's just not going to work. Like sometimes you might think you've got everything in place, you've got all your braking mechanics, and I've had even other matches where like I'm on a foot or I'm on a heel hook or something, and I feel a pop, I feel a snap, and I'm like, oh fuck, something's not right here. Like I've definitely messed this guy up, and they just don't tap, and you're like, well,
Yeah,
you like a game I like to play with my students who like are really interested in the leg locks, especially the ones who want to do those ADCCs, is like get the leg lock, get the tap, and when they tap, the round doesn't stop. You stop trying to submit, and now you have to come up on top. You
yeah,
have
that's
to
good.
use this because there are going
Yeah,
to be matches where, like my match with Nate, you get that pop, and I didn't have the right approach of like, hey, I did the best I could on this leg. It's over. He's out of this position, or like he's not going to tap to this. We need to use this to get more. Like we have to find a way to
yeah,
take this lock and turn it into something better. I didn't
yeah.
do that.
Play the what if game.
Yeah. So I learned, like the worst thing you can do is, or have your competitors feel after the match is like, what if I had just come up on top? What if I had just had a better strategy or done something different? Like I've
Mhm.
lost a few matches where, you come off after the match and you're like, man, I did everything I could. I did the best I could in these positions. I don't have a single thing that I would have changed about how I did that match, and I lost. And that's okay. Like I can take that
Yeah,
match, go home and be like, hey, I literally did everything I could. That guy was just better than me today. Maybe I come back tomorrow or next time with a better strategy to start, or maybe I know his game a little better, so I avoid certain positions. But like in the moment, I did everything I felt like was right, and I lost. Cool, that's great, man. And I've had matches that I've won where I'm like, holy, that was a horrible performance, man. Like I chased this thing for way too long. I gave up positions I shouldn't have given up. I ended up winning, but like that was terrible. The outcome isn't always, the indicator of what we want there. Like sometimes it's like, I tell every competitor eventually you'll just compete against someone who's really good. You're going to perform well and go, that guy was better. It is what it is.
Yeah.
What I want to
Yeah.
avoid with them is those matches where you're like, I could have done better. I could have had a better impact. I could have put in more effort. One of my big pet peeves is when someone comes off, especially a match that goes to points, like it goes the whole time limit, and they come off and I'm like, how do you feel? And they're like, oh man, I wish I could just do another match right now. I'm like, dude, what do you mean? Like, you lost by 2 points. You knew you were down 2 points with 2 minutes left. You should be exhausted right now. You should put everything out there trying to get those 2 points. And they're
Yeah.
like, well, you always hear this classic one. Well, I knew if I won, I would have had another match. So I was trying to save some energy. Glad you saved it because now you don't have any more matches. You got a lot of energy for that car ride home now, don't you?
Yeah.
But we all have to, you got to learn those lessons. And as a coach, like, I'm trying to learn them myself so that I can give these lessons to guys and they don't have to learn it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that idea of, hey, get the tap. And like, I think people kind of do this sometimes on their own, but I like enforcing it and giving them the reason why of like, hey, you can get your tap or whatever and then let it go. And then you have to work towards another solution or getting on top because, yeah, what if you can't submit them? Or what if they're just, fuck it, I'm willing to take a pop because this is just important to me that day. Or, oh, fuck, it's already popped. Oh, well, I'm just going to keep going. The damage is done because we see that happen too. Like, then what? What is your game when you're forced, right? You've already broken the leg and they don't care.
Yeah,
Like, some people are crazy like that. We see the fucking Sambo boys. They don't give a fuck about their knees. They're going to, like,
yeah.
what if?
I mean, the tap stops the submission, and in a tournament, that's the end of the match. But in the gym, like, stop the submission and then, like, well, let's play from here, man. Like,
Okay.
where would we go? I do this all the time when I get taps on guys in the gym. Maybe I'm on
Yeah.
an arm bar and they tap, and then I go, okay, I'm gonna let this off, but I'm not letting you out of the arm bar. Get out of here, man. Practice your
Yeah.
escape. I'm not gonna finish you 8 times in a row, just constantly arm barring you, but like, I'm just going to work on trying to maintain this position and hold it. And now you get to escape in an environment where you don't have to worry about having your arm broken.
Yeah.
Show me, like, obviously that's not for us going down our coaching here. Obviously it's not fully representative because, like, in a real situation, obviously your arm can be broken. You have to be mindful of that. But this is about the best opportunity you're going to get to figure out how to get out of an arm bar in a live situation. So, like, let's do it, man. Like, get out, get the practice, and then now you're on top. Okay, where do we go from here? And the whole role can stay like live and kind of organic in real positions, as opposed to like resetting every single time something happens.
Yeah. 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 I do that a lot too, where I'll get something and then we'll just, especially with arm bars, like I'll go arm bar and then I'm like, fuck you, I'm going to wrist lock you instead. And then it just gives them more time and then I'll give up on that and then we'll just continue to go. Cause it's like, yeah, man, like, especially sometimes you'll have, especially with newer people, you'll get to that position and you can just feel them kind of give up. It's like, no, you're not giving up, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to keep working through this because there's a lot of value left on the table here. Like, you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, just like, don't quit, man. Just find a way to do it. Like, I know it sucks. I know, like, you're like, oh, I've been beaten, I've been armbarred, but like, it's the training room. Like, this is the training environment. The whole point of here is that we're practicing. So like, there's no losing in practicing. Like, just stop. I tell people all the time too. Like, if I'm in a weird position that like I'm not familiar with, I'll do this a lot when I roll, where like I'll stop the guy and be like, "Hey, can you just like just try and hold this? I just want to see if I can get out of this." Like, I know we're in a live round, but like, it's the training environment, and I want to try something. I want to train. I want to practice. Like, I'm not going to do that in a tournament. I'll be like, "Hey, can you just like hold this position for a second? I want to see if I can get out of this." That's the performance environment. They're different things, but like, be communicative with your partners in training. If you ever want to try something, or like someone gets you in a submission, you can be like, "Hey, can you not finish this for a second? I just want to see if I can get out of this." Like, what's the harm in that, man? Like, there's no harm.
Yeah, I think some people are like shy towards doing that, especially like open mats or whatever. They just, oh, just live rounds, live rounds. Like, dog, that's where most of my work is done. Like, even before I owned my own place, like there was a stint where it's like I really just want to get good at getting people off my back, right? It's a high finishing position. I want to have really solid defense there. So I'd go into open mats and I would just go through the entire gym. Like, you're going to start on my back. If I escape, we reset. You get my back again. If you submit me, we reset. It's just entire rounds on back. That's it. And then go through the entire gym like that. right? Now, sometimes you're going to have some people like, oh, I don't really want to do that. I just want to lie around. Cool. I'm going to go find someone else then if you don't want to. That's fine. But this is what I'm doing today,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like, fuck, do you get good doing that? Because now all of a sudden you have all that time on task for that hour and a half, whatever it is, with all different types of bodies, you know? And all of a sudden you go through an open mat and it's like, no one caught me today. Fuck yeah, you know? And like that's how you build the skill. You don't have to wait for class time to do that. You can take the reins yourself as a coach or as a student or whatever, and like, hey, this is my time where I get to do whatever I want. That means I could build my own practices. It doesn't have to be live rounds.
100%. Like, I love what you said too about like people being like, well, I don't want to do that. It's like, okay, go go find somebody else. Like, I'm not the guy then. Like,
Yeah.
you can do that with anything too. Like, if you're like, I'm training for a competition, I want to go hard, and your partner's like, hey, I want to go super easy today. It's like, all right, we'll grab different partners because we don't have aligned goals right now. Like, if what we want to do is disaligned, we just grab somebody else. There's always someone who'll do what you want. Like, if you want to flow around, there's always someone who's willing to do that. If you want to fight like it's the world championship finals, I'm sure you can probably find someone who's willing to do that with you too.
Yeah.
It's just about communicating with your partners and like making the most out of your time. Like you said, like it's your time, man. Make it a practice. Make it work on what you're trying to do. I know you're really big on this too, but like have intentionality when you go into these things. Like have a goal. If you really want to get better, when you go to an open mat, have something that you're working on or a goal. Don't just like show up and be like, I'm just gonna roll super hard in any random position that we happen to end up in with no thought process at all about what I want to do or I'm trying to do. Like congratulations on mostly wasting your time. Like
Yeah.
have something you want to work on. It doesn't have to be super specific, but have some sort of like intentionality.
It can be like it can scale in so many different ways. Like when I first started playing with CLA, because there was a giant mind fuck of like I saw everything as techniques to now I just need to see things as small tasks, right? I would literally just go into rolling and be like, I am just going to focus on hand fighting today or getting outside of the elbow or like it got to a point where I'm just going to focus on no matter what position I'm in, I'm going to think about what the most important tasks are and I'm going to try and beat everyone at those tasks. Right. And then eventually you do it so much where you don't really have to think about or like force yourself to do that. That's just kind of how you work now. Instead of like, oh, fuck, I'm going to go for a hip bump. That's not going to work. I'm going to try and get into a scissors. Now it's just like, I'm going to take their base away and bump them over. I don't care how it's done, you know?
Oh man, I love it. Like I've been fucking with a concept I've been playing with a lot. So like I'm really big on like high hips winning scrambles. Like if your hips are higher than
Yeah.
your partners, you win a lot of scrambles. So I've been going
Yes.
into training the last few days from any position, wherever we are, no matter what. My only goal for training that day, my 7, 8, 9 rounds that I'm doing at night is at no point during any of the rounds will I willingly allow my partner's hips to be higher than my hips. That's my only focus. I don't care what positions I touch. I'm not trying to submit anybody. All I care about is that no matter where we go, my hips stay higher than my partner's. And I'll have guys I'm rolling with be like, dude, how did you pass my guard like that? Like, what guard pass did you do? And I'm like, I literally don't know, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to pass your guard. All I'm thinking about is keeping my hips above your hips. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, what do you mean? How'd you end up in mount? And I'm like, my hips were higher than your hips. Mount is an option. Like that is
Yeah.
one of the conditions for mount is that my hips need to be above yours. Like the other shit just happens. I don't know. Like I'm just moving shit around. I'm doing whatever I think I need to do to keep my hips above your hips. And like all of this stuff is just happening and emerging. And it's not like I'm focusing on like a specific technique. I'm just like, just keep my hips up in the air, you know? Stuff emerges when you have these goals that are like fundamental for the thing you're trying to accomplish
Yeah.
in the actual game itself. So like sometimes I tell my students like the less specific your goal can actually be like way better. Like if your goal is like I'm going to hit 11 knee slide passes today. It's like that like uh, maybe I won't be so nice. That's a dog shit goal, man. That's a really dumb goal. That's not a good way to approach grappling. Your goal should be things like today I'm going to try and spend as much time on the inside of my partner's legs, controlling the inside position, and try to get chest to chest as many times as I can. Okay, that's great, man. Like that will lead to a lot of passes, knee slide and otherwise. But that's good grappling. If you're just out here spamming knee slide passes, like Okay, man, waste your time. That's fine. Like, it's not helping you.
Yeah. I love the high hip thing because like that is a very common thing you're gonna hear me yelling in my fucking gym because sometimes it's hard to get like people to internalize it to the point where you have where it's like I'm just looking for high hips everywhere because I do the same thing. Like we'll play with head height or hip height, whatever's not covered, get that thing higher, right? So if your hips are covered, then try and get your head higher. So then you can do duck unders and sit outs, all kinds of stuff, right? If your head's covered, then try and get your hips high. You can cut angles, you get more mobility. There's so many things. Like again, like you said, so many scrambles you look, and it's like that person won because their hips were higher.
Mm-hmm.
And it's everywhere. So like even just picking those things out and like let's design a class around hip height where we're looking at hip height when it's in relation to stand up, passing, and pinning. Right now you have a common thread going out the entire thing. Like that's the kind of shit I love because it's so simple, but it's just affects everything.
Mm-hmm. No, I this kind of stuff is like what I really think are like the fundamentals of grappling. It's not these like
Yes.
moves or techniques. It's these ideas that apply to hundreds of situations where like, man, if you're like a good example I'll use, someone sent me a highlight reel because they were like, dude, this is so awesome. I think it was Cade Rutolo and PJ Barch, ADCC, I believe semifinals a couple years ago. And I'm watching it and they're like, look at all these moves, and they're naming like some fucking moves and shit that Cade's doing. And I'm like, what do you notice about every single one of these scrambles Cade does? Look at the hips. And like every time he scrambles, his hips pop above PJ's. Cade Rutolo might be the best in the world at getting his hips higher than his opponents. And he makes it look effortless and he wins all of these
Mhm.
scrambles. And I know people are like, he's got all these techniques and stuff. I'm like, no, man, he's just really, really good at understanding that if he just gets his hips and head above yours, he's probably ending up in really good position. And it doesn't matter. Like he's doing this shit from wrestling positions, from guarded positions, from top positions, from random scrambles. He just does it from everywhere. I'm like, that's just really good fundamentals. Like I know
Mhm.
people are like, oh, those guys aren't fundamental because they don't play like closed guard bottom and side control with a cross top. I'm like, yeah, they have amazing fundamentals because they understand the ideas that allow grappling to work. And because they understand it really well, they can express it in really cool ways that look not fundamental, but really are.
Yeah. Yeah. Way to out yourself as a fucking outdated person where it's like fundamentals is closed guard, bro.
Oh man, this shit kills me. I've gone on so many rants in my gym where I my guys will do this now. Like a couple of the kids, I mean, you've met Nikita. He does this shit. He just like rage baits me in the gym with the shit that he doesn't believe, but he'll say it and he watches my blood pressure go up like 30. He's like, someone's like, what's like good fundamental? He's like, oh, like a closed guard arm bar. And he watches me just start fucking seething in blood. I'm like, he does this when guests come in too. He'll like bait them into saying stuff like that just to get me worked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love doing it. They
That's
love messing with me, man. Like it's
yeah, dude, endless. Like I've a bunch of teens who'll do shit like that. My adults, that's why they call me sensei whenever I have visitors. And little Dill, you know how he is too. He's constantly fucking with people. It's just it wouldn't be him if he wasn't fucking with people, you know? But it's so funny because then watching him go to other gyms, all of a sudden they fucking love him too because he does the same thing to them. It's
yeah.
quirky.
I love that kid, man. He
Um,
cracks me up. He's fun. He's fun to throw around. He takes it too, man. Like I love when the young kids like they'll talk the shit, but then
yeah,
when you put it on them, they're like, okay, that's fair. Yep, I talked a lot of shit. I deserve this.
yeah.
I got one young kid in my gym who keeps telling me that buggy chokes aren't real, that they're like fake. So I just buggy choke him every round from like random positions. Like I'll be on his back, I'll buggy choke him. I'll be bottom mounted, I'll find a way to buggy choke him. And every time I'm like, not real though, eh? Not real. He just takes it. He's a good sport about it. He finds it fun.
Yeah.
Like I like when they can do that kind of stuff. But my guys they know I get worked up about the fundamentals thing, and I'm like, dude, you're like weird little moves that your coach showed you in like your white belt class, or like I'm gonna call out some definitely gyms here without naming names, but like these gyms that have like a blue belt curriculum where if you can demonstrate these 40 moves, you get a blue belt. I'm like, dude, these aren't fundamental at all. Like this is just it's so outdated and so linear. Like it's terrible, man. It's actually terrible. It's doing a huge disservice to your athletes because they're not actually exploring grappling. They're not exploring the real fundamentals of things like hip height, probably I'm going to be like really try and ruffle some people up, probably because your coach who has these 20 moves doesn't understand the concept of hip heights when scrambles. So he doesn't know to teach you that stuff or to point it out. He's just showing you close guard Kimura for the 850th time this year.
Mhm.
And then these students are focused on these like 20 expressions of a move without actually understanding how the move works at all. And then when they come to like a gym like mine and my guys are doing like weird shit that it's just fundamental but expressed in a different way with like a weird grip, they're like, I have no idea what this is. I didn't know you could do that from there. I'm like, how did you, but like, you're a purple belt, how did you not fucking know that? Like, didn't well, my coach has never shown me that move. I'm like, he shouldn't have to show you that move. He should explain why this is working, and then you should understand that you can explore and figure out different ways to do it. Like, it baffles me that coaches are still doing this stuff in what are we, 2020, Jesus, 2026. Come on, guys. Like,
Well, it's crazy too because like the curriculums and that kind of teaching is literally just teaching people to be like, oh, I have a circle hole. Let me cram this fucking triangle into it. Why isn't it working? Like that's how you get that style of grappling, and it's so frustrating for people. Like especially there's a lot of reasons why people quit a blue belt, but that's probably a big one. You go through this big test. Oh fuck yeah, I'm finally a blue belt. I'm a color belt, and then you just everything is still weird and clunky and doesn't make sense, and you're constantly trying to cram a square block into a round hole, and it's shit. You know, like there are way better ways to do it.
it kills me, man. Like, I've had some competitors from other local gyms that like I'm pretty active on the competitive scene. I referee a lot. I've seen a lot of these guys go, and I know their gyms. And I've had matches where I've sat next to one of my students, and like, oh, this guy's really good. I'm like, all right, watch. First 10 seconds of the match, he's going to set up a double leg. He's going to set it up exactly this way. Once he lands the double leg, he's going to try a Toriando pass to the left side on the outward. If that works, he's going to go to a knee on belly position. He's going to look for a far side arm par. First match of the tournament, shoots the double the exact same way. Quick Toriano pass outside, knee on belly, far side armbar. I'm like, how'd you do that? I'm like, the kid only does one thing. And I'm like, now watch, he's got a guy in the next match that actually has like some pretty good defense. Watch this kid's brain get absolutely bamboozled the moment something doesn't work here. Like, the moment he shoots this move the way it's supposed to work, and there's like, he didn't get the hand out of the way with his like weird like double hand slap to the side double leg. The hand wasn't there, the elbows were tight, the other kid's got like a good wrestling fundamental. He's shooting that double leg anyways right into the down block because he didn't understand that it's not just about like move the hand shot. It's about the fact that you have to get this down block out of the way so we have access to the leg. And he's not doing that correctly because the hand wasn't where it was supposed to be when he drilled it. So the information's not there on why this is working. Or maybe the hands do go out of the way, but I'm like, man, this guy on top, look at his hip position. Like, he's going to sprawl and guide you around to that left side, front headlock. Like, and you can see the guy doing it, and just like the sheer confusion when it doesn't work the way it was scripted to work. Like, jiu-jitsu isn't WWE, man. This stuff's not scripted. Like, you have to understand how to adapt. You have to understand why you're doing what you're doing, or you're never going to be able to adapt it.
Yeah, it's huge. Um, it's fun. This is gonna be a little bit of a long setup, but it's funny because looking at um, when you're talking about instructors showing these techniques and they're showing them, but they don't really understand why they work. And we see this across the board. I remember when I went to Greg's seminar in Minneapolis, it was so fucking funny because he just asked the room full of black belts and all of these experienced people, like, what is a sweep? And the amount of answers that came out, and it's like, okay, what do we need to do to make a sweep happen? Why does it work? Right? And it's like, stop them from moving, tip their hips over. And no one could fucking express that. It took so long for someone to get anywhere close to it. And it's like, that's fucking crazy. You guys don't know this. But it's something that you see even in traditional martial arts, where you build out like these techniques and then they lose the why to why these things even work or what their purpose is. So you see these crazy like katas and they look all fucking ridiculous, right? And I remember watching a YouTube video and I don't remember who it was, but he's like, hey man, in this kata, this thing that looks like this weird block and people always think it's a block, it's a throw. So it was like their way of codifying like their curriculum or whatever into it, and it's supposed to be a throw, but no one fucking knows that. It just turned to, oh, this is a block, and it just completely got lost in the sauce. But you see that with like a hip bump sweep. It's like, oh, here are the 7 steps to do a hip bump sweep. Why does it work, coach? Because you followed the steps. They don't fucking know.
Yeah, and
It's crazy.
it kills me. Like I'm open with people. Like a lot of time when I talk to people about this stuff, I'm like, man, it's not that your coach means badly. It's not that he doesn't care. It's not that he doesn't want you to know this stuff. A lot of the time, it's probably just because he doesn't know it.
Yeah.
Because his coach didn't know it, and he memorized the steps. He didn't understand the technique. Like, I'm gonna say some things that might upset some people, but like my black belt means fuck all. It is absolutely worthless in terms of like my knowledge or my ability. Like I've met hundreds of black belts who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't understand how these things work. Like I'll use the sweeping option you said. This is exactly how I explain to my students. Listen, we want to sweep this guy, right? So we're on the bottom, he's on top of us. What we have to do at some point is turn him to face the roof. Like I got to put him on his back. The only way to do that is he's going to have to flip over at some point. There's 2 ways to flip a human being. You can flip them via their shoulders or via their hips. If you flip one hard enough, the other is going to follow it because our bodies are connected by a spine. If you flip someone's hips 180 degrees and their shoulders don't turn, congratulations, you have broken their spine. Like they're going to turn with them. So when we're sweeping, I need to focus on rotating his hips or rotating his shoulders. One of these things has to flip 180 degrees. If you do that, you will sweep any human being on the planet. Every single sweep, whether it's a hip bump, a butterfly sweep, whatever sweep you want to do, at some point the hips or shoulders flip over. It's the only thing that every single sweep has in common because it's the only thing that has to happen. And you can do it in infinite number of ways, but that's what's got to happen. So I get guys come in and maybe they're guests from another gym, or they're focusing on. Or I get a lot of students who transfer from other gyms to our gym, and they're like, "Yeah, my coach showed me this before, and like I don't know how to get this sweep to work." And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And like maybe they're trying to hip bump sweep, and they're like pushing really far backwards, and the guy's based out. And I'm like, "You're not rotating his hips or shoulders, man. All I want you to do is try and like from this position, just turn this guy's shoulders or hips. Pick one of them. Don't care which one. Pick one of them. Try it." And they're like, "What do you mean? Like, it's that simple?" Like, it's that simple, man. Like, now, simple in theory. Yeah, the theory is super simple. To do it can be really difficult. But I think a lot of these coaches just don't understand what's happening at the base level of these ideas. Like you said, the idea of a sweep literally just being turning someone over. Like a sweep isn't a 7-step process. It's one thing that has to happen. How we do it changes. So like if you don't understand that, if you've only learned through things being a process, it's natural when you become a coach to teach the process because that's how they learn, because that's how their coach learned. Because at some point, somewhere along the line, someone who understood what sweeping was figured out, oh, if I do these 7 steps, it actually sometimes, or very often even in some cases, produces the effect I want. So I'm going to teach people these 7 steps. And then those guys went, that's how it's done. Cool. I'm going to teach these 7 steps. And like you said, somewhere along the way, that knowledge or that idea and understanding of like hips or shoulders twisting just got lost because it's easier to teach the steps.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my wild rant for today. I get, you knew when you had me on this podcast, I was getting every time, man. I can't help myself.
No, it's 100%, and it drives a guy bonkers because, and to be fair, like that's how I came up too. It was all just techniques, and like my coach did a pretty good job at, hey, when we're sweeping, we're looking to take base away. We always have to take base away, so like he understood it on that way. But there's also like, at what point do we just say, okay, when do we just start focusing on the base itself? Or when do like these invariant feet, like when do we just start focusing on that and say, fuck the techniques? Because that's really where it just like significantly changed for me, my gym, his everywhere. Like it's so much easier instead of this fucking Rolodex of like, oh my God, it's just impossible.
I mean,
and then you just,
it's, sorry, go on.
yeah, it just simplifies it so much. And like for me, my grappling got so much better. I understood it better. It's easier to teach. And it's just funny how historically why that might have changed, whether it's people wanting to keep secrets, whether it's because they forgot or they just never understood it, or it's just easier to teach an entire room of 40 people these 7 steps. I don't know. Right. But like, yeah, having to get back to like, hey, why does this work? What is the thing that's actually making all of these techniques function? And let's just focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge, but it's so hard to get in that mindset when you've come up technique, 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 technique. It is such a grind, and that's the most frustrating part. But once a coach can get over that, and once the students can get over that, it's just so much easier. That's one of the things I say to people all the time when I'm setting up activities. I'm like, super simple in theory. In practice, this is going to be hard because you're learning a skill. You're trying to coordinate your body, right? So like super simple, but you have to work at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed something really big there too. Is getting the students on board with that, especially like I'm sure you've had some students who've like moved to town or come from another gym or whatever, and they come from more of a technique oriented background, and it can be so hard to get them to switch from the idea of like do the steps versus engage with the task, like play the task as it's set. Don't focus on what steps do I do, what move do I know would accomplish this goal. Focus on that this is the goal, this is how I'm going to do it. Like I use this as an example all the time because it's pretty simple, but like the passing, I play a lot of games with my guys where we talk about pinning knees from open guarded situations, because it turns out for me to pass someone's legs, probably have to immobilize them at some point or pin them. Pinning them to the ground is one of the easiest ways to do that. And I'll always show my students we can pin it with a hand like you would in like a Toriando style pass, or we can pin it with our shin like you would in like a knee slide style pass. And I want to connect my chest to this guy's chest. Now, if you engage with that game only trying to knee slide, you're missing so much valuable information that your partner is giving you on like what's working, what's not working, what's available, what is he offering me that I can take. When we engage with the game, and like a lot of the games I'll do, I'm like, guys, listen, our only goal for this game is to pin this guy's knee and keep it pinned as long as possible. I do not care how you're doing this. Pin his knee to the mat and keep it there for as long as you can keep it there. Bottom player, don't let your knees hit the mat. And if they do, try to find a way to get them back up in the air, open space, feet in front of our partner. Go. And I've seen guys from other gyms trying to force their passes that they do, and it's like they're not having a ton of success. And then I'll look at like, and now these might be even like blue belts from other gyms, and then I'll look at like a guy who's like brand new, never grappled before, and he's having a lot of success. He's pinning a ton of knees because he's not trying to force a move like that, that square peg into the round hole. He's just going pin a knee. Okay, that's really simple. I'm just going to put my weight on this knee. Now, some of the pins we might go like, okay, well, that's not the most functional for grappling, but we're gonna calibrate that in the next game we play when we go, now we have to pin the knee and do this, or we have to do this, or pin the knee without doing this. And like it doesn't all have to come from one task. Like I'm gonna build tasks to build these little sub skills of like pinning knees, and then we calibrate all that after to be functional in a live grappling environment. But these guys, like, well, they just want to force that like knee slide pass in there, and I'm like, and they go, I don't know, I'm having a hard time with this game. And I'm like, because you're not playing the game, man. You're doing your own thing. You're not engaging with the task. Like, I'll use an analogy that I've done with some of my students, and I go, you're the guy playing basketball, and your coach showed you a free throw or good shooting form or a 3-pointer or whatever fucking basketball. I don't play basketball. I'm fucking like 5'9". I'm definitely not playing basketball. But he showed you like some good shooting form, and now you're trying to shoot from everywhere. But dude, you're 6'7". Just go stand up and dunk that ball in the net. Like you don't have to always have this perfect shot form. You're 2 inches from the net. Jump up and slam the thing in there. Like you're trying to do something different. Just play the game. The game isn't have this beautiful shooting form. The game is get the ball in the net.
Yeah. To that, like I 100% little tangent, like when these new students are say pinning knees, and like you said, maybe not the most functional pins, and people always want to jump in right away and like, oh no, let me clean this up, let me fucking leave it alone. Like that's going to work itself out. Like especially like you give a new task the next time and they're going to like, oh, I can't do this if I want to accomplish the next task, or this isn't, and they're going to organize around it and they're going to figure it out. Like it all comes out in the wash at the end of the day. But if we jump in and take 3 minutes to explain why this is the optimal, well, fuck, now their round is done. Like you've taken half their time away. Something I struggle with an assistant coach from another gym when we get together sometimes is he always wants to stop and explain to the kids like, oh, this is what you need to do to finish a single leg. I'm like, that's not, no, leave them alone. Go sit down. I want them to put their partner's hands or hips on the floor by manipulating a leg. That's it. I don't need any extra information thrown at them. I need them to practice it for 6 minutes. Because what you're trying to correct likely would have disappeared in 30 seconds when it stopped working.
And even if it's not working, just leave it, man. They're trying.
Yeah.
The only time I really get involved is if someone's trying the same thing nonstop and it's not working. I might try and pop in and be like, hey, let's change our focus here. Like, let's add an extra piece for you. Like, I want you to try, if we're playing a single leg game and the guy's not getting to the ground, his posture's super up, and be like, when you have his leg, I want you to try to put your chest on the floor. Okay? See if that helps. Put weight on that leg. Try and put as much weight on this guy's leg once you pick it up as you can. See if that helps. Like, or maybe like, hey, we're standing really still when we're trying to do this. While you're trying to put him on the ground, I just want you to focus on like never having both feet planted super flat. Be moving. Keep this guy moving. Give him extra little cues to help maybe guide them to figuring out the solution on their own. But like, even when people are failing, if we're trying to play a knee pin game and the guy's trying a bunch of stuff and it's not working, like, I'm going to let that go. Like, that's fine. That's great, man. He's trying. He's playing the game. I only really the only times I really jump in are if I see someone, maybe not engaging with the game properly. I might be like, hey, let focus on this instead. Or like, hey, the game was limited to this. I don't need the rest of that shit. Like, let's just focus on this for now. Or you can see a student is like really visibly frustrated. Sometimes I'll step in, and that's less of like a skill development thing and more of like I can't develop skill in you if you quit.
Yeah. So that's a big difference. Like you are talking about cueing. Your cueing probably takes at max 30 seconds. It's probably in passing, you're walking by and it's like, hey, try get heavier on that leg. See how you're not interrupting them. They're still in the environment. They hear you. Maybe half the time they hear you. Sometimes you got to yell it a couple times, right? But it doesn't take much, right? Same with like refocusing someone. Like they keep running into the same problem. This is the 16th time they've tried it. Like, hey, is that working for you? No, not really. Is there something else we could try? Yeah, let me try. Sometimes it's as simple as that. But like, I'm talking, sometimes people will jump in and they'll stop the action, and then it's like they'll literally talk through and show for the next 3 minutes. Like, that's not what we're doing, bro. Like, leave them alone. Like, cueing is important. I cue all the time, right? And then, just refocusing. Or like, if you're just stuck on this, like I ask questions. I'm always just asking guiding questions for the most part, or yelling something. Again, hip height is always a big one. Like get your hips high or cover their hips. Just very simple things just to get them back on track, right? It's huge. But to the point of people coming in from other gyms, I just recently had a guy who started training with us a couple months ago, and he had come from one of the big cities. A lot of technique, right? And it was funny because like really had a hard time engaging with the tasks, right? Is always wanting to go out of the realm and like, oh, I kind of get it, but you could tell he didn't really get it, and I don't want to over explain. Just constantly working to like, hey, stay on this task, stay on this task, stay on this task, and eventually, right? And then didn't talk too much, and then he's like talking about like maybe differences between the gyms, and his first answer was kind of funny. He's just like, yeah, training's training. Didn't really like correlate any different. And then about a month and a half in, we're just chit chatting, and I think we're talking about arm bars. And I'm just like, man, bend the thing the wrong way. There's a few small things you need to focus on in an arm bar, right? Like you want to have their shoulder controlled, you want to have their wrist, you want something behind their elbow. Everything else is just, it's going to come out in the wash again. You're going to figure out what works, what doesn't, right? If we can keep their back flat on the floor, that's usually beneficial. But sometimes we got to go belly down. There's a bunch of other shit that happens too. But these are the three things I focus on. Everything else, play with it, right? And it's funny because then he comes back a little bit afterwards and he's like, man, this is so much fucking better. I went back and trained at the other place and they were just fucking ripping me because I wasn't doing things right, and your hand has to be exactly here, and you're missing step 3. And he's like, this is fucking bullshit. Like he was mad when he came back at how like He's like, I didn't realize I was training like this. Now I go over there and I'm getting my fucking hand slapped all the time because I'm doing things wrong, but I'm having more success. I'm like, yeah, dog, because you're focusing on the things that actually create the arm bar. There's only like a few things that you really need to bake that cake. Here are the ingredients. That's it. The rest is what kind of color of frosting do you want on the cake, Like, yeah,
I
it's
think I think that's a really common experience with people who experience good CLA. Like, and I would consider, like, I've done your classes. You're a good CLA coach. You really understand what you're doing. I think it's really common when students go from that back to static drilling, and they're like, "What the fuck, man?" Like, I can't tell you how many students I've had who came from somewhere else, have been with me for different amounts of time, and then they'll go do a class somewhere to drop in and static drilling, and I'll get a message from them like later that night, because like you said earlier, I guess when my students drop into place, I always ask how it goes, not because I'm like, give me gossip, who did you beat, who did you lose to, but I'm like, hey, how did it go? Like,
yeah,
were the things we've been working on successful? Were they not? If not, can you tell me why? Because again, I need data as a coach. Like,
yeah,
I need data because I want to be better at my job. I actually genuinely care about my job.
yes,
I want to be good at this. So like, I want to make you better, man. Like, I need information. But a lot of them always tell me the same thing, which is, I can't believe I wasted so many years doing this before I started doing CLA. Like, I can't believe I used to do this every night and really thought this was the way to get better. Like, it's like having their eyes open. Like, they understand, man. Like, oh, it makes sense now. And not everyone gets there at the same speed. Sometimes it takes people, like you said, like the guy's doing it for a month and you're like, how's it going? They're like, yeah, it's just the same thing. And then it takes some time for some people to like kind of get what's happening and see it and be like, oh, actually, I understand now what's going on here. Like,
mhm.
you know, I'm sure you always get the same complaints about CLA from everybody. It's always the same things, man. I'm so tired of the same arguments with people about it working or not working, or like, uh, but it takes people some time of actually doing it. And then, obviously, you get people who don't have a good understanding of what CLA is or what we're trying to do or the situations, the goals we're trying to create. And they just go, well, you're just playing games and live sparring. It's like, okay, whatever, man. Like, you don't know what we're doing. Come try a class, see what it's about, and engage with it. But usually once people have engaged with it and they get what's happening here, that like, we're not trying to teach you a series of moves. We're trying to teach you how to accomplish tasks that lead to outcomes that we want. They get it and they're like, man, this is so much better. It's so much more fun. And then I don't have to have the same fucking arguments with them once they get it. I don't have to be like, oh, I'm sure you get the same ones. Let's see if I can guess the big three CLA arguments you get. It's just positional sparring has to be number one, right? Every time.
Yeah, we've been doing this forever. It's just positional
Yeah.
sparring. Yeah.
The next biggest one is it doesn't work with beginners. Only advanced guys will get value out of this. And then, funnily enough, the third most common one I get is, yeah, it doesn't work with beginners only, or it doesn't work with advanced guys. Only beginners get something out of this. I'm like, well, two of these just completely deal with themselves because they're literally just antithetical arguments. Like, you guys are, it doesn't make any sense. It can't be both of those situations. And then the positional sparring, it's like once you've tried it, you realize it's not just positional sparring. And like, so is positional sparring valid within the CLA? For sure. Yeah, 100%. Like, it's just a tool we can use. I can open it up. I think Cal Jones refers to like things like positional sparring as calibration tasks. So we break things up into these subtasks, like, again, just pin a knee, just trying to get our chest as close to our partner's chest as we can, have our hands connected to people, all these little things that cause passing to happen. And then at the end, I'm going to calibrate it with maybe a positional round from open passing because I want these subtasks to calibrate themselves into what an actual role is. Like, I'll use an example. I think I've given you this one before, but I used to play a game where I just wanted people to pin the knees because pinning the knees is like incredibly valuable for passing. If someone disagrees that pinning the knees is valuable for passing, I would love to have a conversation with them, roll with them. But anyways, and what I had one student do was really new. Basically, just turn to like bottom, north, south, and straighten their legs. And it's like, now you can't pin my legs to the mat. I was like, you know what? This little fucker's got a point. Like,
Gaming the game, bro.
you can't pin his knees if they're 7 feet away from me and his arms are fully out extended. I can't pin this guy's knees. That's why I need my calibration task at the end to go, oh, now he's also pinning the knees or getting chest to chest. Well, you
There,
can't stop me from getting chest to chest if you shoot your legs completely out from in between us. There, I've solved that problem. It's no longer an issue.
yeah, there's a reality there because it's like, okay, let's say you have someone who's super fucking flexible and they can get their knees all kinds of different places and you can't pass them conventionally. So then you're all of a sudden you have to go try and go north south to pass them. And then they're good at inverting. Like still a reality there. It's like, yeah, if you can't pin their knees or when you pin their knees, they're still functional because they're so fucking flexible.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's another problem, right?
Yeah.
It's
It's, but I mean, I really do think when you calibrate these games and add in like more of the whole game, the more representativeness goes up, the more we like fix a lot of those sub issues of like the guy trying to game the game. It's like, well, that's gonna come out eventually. That's gonna happen with anything we do. Like any game you play, people are gonna try to game it.
yeah.
Even like jujitsu as itself as a whole, when played in a sporting context with points, people will game. Any good competitor will do that, but that comes out when we start to make it more representative for these like.
Well, and two, I feel like if you've been doing it for any, if you have like a good eye for it, you're gonna pick up when people are gaming the game, and it's usually just a quick like, "Hey, bro, next task is gonna be they're gonna get to your chest. Keep that in mind." And then like, "Oh shit, I better work on something before they just squish me because this obviously isn't working." So I was just trying to frame it like keep this in the context of the entire game of grappling. And if you don't know that yet, I'll just say, "Hey, next task, they're gonna pin you chest to chest." So keep that in mind, and then it washes out.
And
right?
sometimes you can also even just add an extra condition into the game, like
Yep.
don't let your knees get pinned, and keep the soles of your feet between you and your partner.
Yep.
Problem solved. Now I
Absolutely.
don't have to worry about that behavior because now the feet have to stay involved. So like
Yep.
it's really easy. If you see people gaming the
Oh.
game, you can just add a condition in somewhere that completely removes the behavior they're trying to exhibit. And
Yep.
if I'm going to say something that maybe some CLA coaches wouldn't agree with, I actually really like when people try to game the games because it means they're actually engaging with the task and trying to figure stuff out and be clever. And sure, maybe it doesn't always lead to the best grappling, but like some of the coolest stuff that's emerged in my gym has been from some of my biggest shitheads of students who just like to fuck with me trying to game a game. And then they're like, oh, I actually think I just figured out something really cool. And then I'm like, hold on, let me watch what you just did. And they're like, they go do it. I'm like, that's something I've literally never thought of, but just made like it makes sense. But they were doing it to try to be a shithead and like beat my game. And I'm like, well, actually, I really like that. Like, that's really cool. Okay. Now we're going to have to like, I'm going to have to play around and investigate with what you just did. Cause like, interesting things emerge when you let smart, funny people be creative. Like most of the people who will try to game your game are people who are like, creatively inclined or if we're being honest, a lot of times it's your students who are just trying to be shitheads and fuck your day up. They'll come up with the coolest solutions to things. And then, all of a sudden that thing that this guy discovered just trying to be silly has become like a big part of what is happening in these games because you realize like that actually works really well, man.
It's funny. Like I don't like, obviously I don't want them gaming the game necessarily, but at the same time, like when they do, like I'm thinking of one student in particular, he does it a fair amount. And like he's gotten quite a bit better by leaps and bounds. Like, but he'll do it and I'll just be like, I know you're so fucking smart and you broke this game, bro. Like I'll always give them the props. I'm like, I know you smart people will find ways to still break this, like I always give them their props. So top three arguments, you were just kind of where we got off on this, right? The first one being it's just positional sparring. Okay, yeah, whatever. It only works for beginners. It only works for experience. Yeah, okay, whatever. One that I hear locally a lot. I've not heard it personally, but I've had a student train at another gym who has been dabbling with CLA for the last year or so, and they will explicitly state CLA has its place. However, it cannot teach submissions and it cannot teach finishing mechanics. So then they will take that opportunity to drill for 30 fucking minutes on one activity of breaking whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, I have seen the journey of this individual and I actually like this individual. I've seen the journey and it's like, you're just not far along enough. Like, because I've seen your opinion go from, oh, CLA has its place, but it's too far away from the art of jiu-jitsu to you using it. And you keep, the more time as a coach that you experience this, you're going to start figuring out like, oh, it's not that the tools weren't there to teach these things, is I just wasn't experienced enough in using it yet. And that's, you continue down that road, eventually you're going to figure out exactly how that stuff works. And you see a lot of people, like a lot of the people who are, oh, CLA is this or that. It's either they haven't fucking tried it before, they've never done a proper class before, or they tried it for a couple months and like, oh, this is too hard. I'm having too much kickback from my students. I quit. So they haven't like done the thing. It's like someone doing jujitsu for 6 months thinking they know it all and be like, jujitsu is kind of full of shit. It doesn't work. This is my reasons why.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's an
okay.
interesting argument to me. I've never heard that it can't teach submissions. That one's
Yeah,
really
or like the
interesting.
finishing mechanics of submissions. And
I mean,
I
like
I
I'll
have
use an
heard
armbar for instance. Like I would love
way
to talk.
better.
I would love to if you could put me in contact with whoever made this argument. I would love to talk to them because I think we'd have a really productive conversation. But like if you use an armbar, like what I do is I just start people in an armbar orientation. Game number one is I just want you to maintain this connection, like the fact that like I have their shoulders pinched with my knees. I have their arm on my chest. I start with their hands separated. The way the defensive partner wins is if they free their elbow or connect their hands. Go. Start with that game. Great. Now you can maintain an armbar position for a long period of time. Game two can be really simple. Take his arm, bend it the direction it doesn't go.
Yep.
How hard is that? Now, if we want to get really specific, I'm going to try and bend his hand. So, like the way I always say it is, I want his thumb to point the opposite direction of his elbow, and I want to extend. That's the breaking mechanics of an armbar. My thumb does not move the opposite direction of my elbow. That's what will cause an arm to break. And this doesn't matter if they start turning like their thumb down, go that way. They turn it the other way, I go that way. Whatever way the thumb points, pull it the opposite direction. You'll break a lot of arms, man. Now, in the gym, I'd say, let's not break a lot of arms because I don't want to cripple all my training partners, but let's move it that way to defensive partner taps. Just follow that thumb. I have no idea how you could argue that that can't be taught in a live game because I've done it hundreds of times and I've got guys
Yeah, it's
really good at arm barring in my gym.
and that's the thing, like it is super simple. And like if that were the case, then how in the fuck is my crew going out and submitting everyone?
Yeah, I
Like
don't
how are
understand.
we like how do you have a gym be successful in competing and hitting these submissions when you cannot possibly, it's, I don't know,
We can even
it's
take it
silly.
a step further and say like, well, at some point, we like this is an indisputable fact. At some point, someone was the first guy to do an armbar.
Mhm.
How'd he get his finishing mechanics?
Yep.
That's like an armbar is not some like weird fundamental property of nature. At some point, someone did this thing to another man and went, "Huh, that worked. Cool. Like, that's great. I broke this guy's arm." Now it's probably two cavemen, just fucking some guy just snapped another guy's arm to steal his berries or whatever caveman did back then. But like at some point, someone was the first guy to do this. No one taught him finishing mechanics, but he did it. So we know for a fact these can be learned without having someone show you finishing mechanics. So like that whole argument is just gone. So now would it help when I'm showing these things? Can I give information? 100% I can give information. Like if we're playing a game around an armbar, I can throw out a piece of information and be like, hey guys, the more you control his shoulder, the easier this arm is going to be to break. If your legs are super loose and flayed, it's going to be easier for this guy to sit up, to pull his elbow free, and it's going to take more pressure to break the arm. If you're having a hard time, I want you to focus your attention on the connection you have to the arm and the connection you have to the shoulder, making sure our connections are tight. I can throw that information out there. We don't have to drill it. We just take that information into the game. The same way, if you're playing a game, like for a rear naked choke, and like, hey guys, like that's like I can show you like, okay, the arm's got to go around the neck. Obviously, I need to create compression on both carotid arteries. That's how a rear naked choke works. That's pretty simple, right? If you're having a real hard time with that, there are little things we can do to allow us to create, more force on these carotid arteries. If you're having an issue, I can explain those to you. I don't need to have you drill it. Just take that information, put it in your game, and now go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's huge.
if
And
you got to
a
DM me
lot
that,
of those
that argument, by the way, you gotta send me. I got
to be fair, I have heard that argument on the internet a fair amount too. of like the nitty gritty and the finishing mechanics not being able to be taught in that way, and it's just not true. What was I going to say now? Oh yeah, like again with an armbar example, right? Because you don't want to overwhelm people with all these different like ideas, but you just give them simple things like, hey, we're starting with our legs in this configuration. I want you to use your legs to keep your partner flat on their back, right? I want you to keep your elbow pit in their elbow pit. You're just going to keep that arm. You're going to separate their hands, get it to extension. Those are what you're going to focus on. Is really like two things continuously and one terminal task in there, right? And then as you're going around the room and you notice, oh, this person keeps getting their elbow back, it's like, great, tighten up on their shoulder. Just a passing by cue. Stay tight on their shoulder. See how that works for you, right? Like you can give some of these details as the problems emerge. Or what I love to do, why do they keep getting their shoulder out of that pocket? Why do they keep getting their elbow back? What could we do to stop that from happening, right? And yeah, you just keep building tasks off of that. It's a silly argument, especially when it comes to like finishing mechanics. Because yeah, like something that I have noticed is there are a lot of people out there who are absolute dog shit at like head and arm style finishing mechanics. So like a head and arm style choke. And it's so funny because so many of my people will go to other gyms, not that they're talking shit, just like dog, they don't know how to finish head and arm chokes. Like Dylan will go to gyms, he'll get stuck in head and arm chokes, and he'll just sit there and kind of like snicker, and people will get mad. It's like you're just trying to rip my head off. Like, where's the choke, right? So it's like, okay, so you're arguing CLA doesn't give those details very well. Well, obviously the traditional way doesn't, because you guys are fucking it up just as bad. However, I'll tell you, my crew knows how to finish head and arm chokes really fucking well, right? And stole it from your boy Jordan. He's the one who like got it to click in my head because he explained it so well, and like you do them amazingly well. It's just that double closure and getting it, no space there. But you can communicate that so easy in your starting position. Hey, make sure it's there. You can cue it. You can bring their attention to it later when they're having more success. They're not hard things to give people. You set up I always just explain to them, hey, we have two types of chokes. We have naked strangles, we have arm in strangles. Naked strangles, we need something blocking off the soft bits, whether it's both parts of our arm, we have to have something covering that. With arm in chokes, it's usually their shoulder doing half the work. It's something of your own body doing the other work, right? And then they just figure it out from there. It's not a hard thing to do. You just need to have some patience.
I mean, to me, I love the cat popping in there. Mine's kicking around here somewhere too. That's like the big thing for me. Like when I'm teaching head and arm chokes to guys, like my big thing, I always stop when I'm showing these games. I'm like, all right, guys, we're gonna like. It's really important to me. What is choking this guy on both sides of his neck? One side is my body. The other is probably his shoulder. If this isn't working, what I want you to do is focus on trying to make his shoulder touch his neck. Okay.
Yeah.
And you start to see all these things that people tell you, like you'll see people in triangles be like, oh, you have to pass the arm across. I'm like, well, you don't have to, because I've watched Ryan Hall finish without doing that before. So I know you don't have to. Okay. So I know I don't have to. Why do people do that? Because it can help me get the shoulder to connect to the neck. Turns out it's easier to get my shoulder to touch my neck if my arm goes across my body and brings my shoulder to my neck. But I've had some guys like one of our guys, also our wrestling coach, was working on like front head and arms because he ended up all there all the time. And he'd seen all these details for like all these, like, you got to put your arm at exactly this angle and do all this shit. And I noticed when he was getting me in there, I was able to get my arm not on his neck. So the two things I told him to do, like number one, get my shoulder to touch my neck. So just get my arm across your body. And then number two, just squeeze. Like, dude, you're 230 pounds and you could squeeze a fucking water buffalo to death. Just squeeze. Like, and first time he hit me with it, I thought to God I was going to die. I've never been head and arm choked so hard in my life. I was like, this is the worst experience of my life. And he's like, oh yeah, made sense. I got your arm across your body and I squeezed. And now he's hitting me with these fucking things that are like, it's not like a darce. Like he'll just have like a weird position, but he gets a head and an arm wrapped and my arm across my body and he squeezes. And I'm like, I'm going unconscious. Like, I don't even know what position this is. I have no idea how you even have my head and my arm wrapped here. He's transitioning between these things super well. It's just happening because he understands what he's trying to do. And he's got the confidence now to do it.
That's huge, right? Because The Rutolotine was this popular thing that popped up for the longest time. Like, it's a head and arm variation. So just as an experiment, like I did a class and we just worked on like head and arm variations from different configurations. Started in mouth, and I'm like, I don't care which way your partner turns, where you end up. You were just staying under one elbow. You're looking to connect that shoulder to their neck, and you're going to look to squeeze and finish a choke. And I had some very new people. I think I had to date one guy in there. Fucking Rutolo teens were coming out, Darce chokes, and everything was coming out. And it was like really impressive because people are going to sit and like, oh, you got to have all these deals for the details for the Rutolotine. We're going to drill, and it's like it just comes out, bro. You just again give them what is actually happening. All arm in chokes are the same, right? Same with like the buggy choke. What is the buggy choke? It's an arm in. Right. Okay. So this is what if you're talking. Sorry to out you, bro. So a kid won a tournament a little bit ago doing buggy chokes, and not IBJJF legal because it's a head and arm variation, right? And him and I kind of talked about it, and he's like, well, it's a chest compression. I'm like, maybe to you because you're giant, bro. You're huge. Of course it's going to compress your chest, but it's an arm in variation, right? And we came to, he was very good about it. I wasn't looking to like cause an issue, just kind of understand it a bit better, right? But that's all it is. It's an arm in variation, right?
Well, we had a tournament out here that allowed head and arm chokes for kids. So like Darce choke, anaconda, arm triangle were all allowed. I had a kid at the time who hit a buggy choke, and they tried to DQ him. And I had to argue, like, show me how this is not just a head and arm choke. What is choking him on both sides? This is a head and arm choke. Now, is it done from a strange position?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, it is. It's going to throw a lot of people off.
But it's a head and arm choke, man. Like, it follows all the same mechanical principles of a head and arm choke. The buggy choke is just a cool expression of really basic mechanics of head and arm chokes, which is why I think, like, I know you mentioned the Rutolotine earlier. Like, one of the reasons, if anyone asked me, if like, who are the, I'm not going to necessarily say smartest, but in my opinion, most creative people in jiu-jitsu, the Rutolos are at the top of that list. Craig Jones is another person at the top of that list, and people think it's because they're inventing these weird, wacky moves. My argument would be is that they really understand clearly. I mean, it is very clear when you watch the Rutolos come up with the shit they do that they really understand how grappling works, and they're really creative at finding ways to fulfill those conditions. I don't think that's deniable. I mean, like I said earlier, Cage is, in my opinion, one of the best guys at hip height stuff. And then you see them come up with ideas like the Rutolotine, which is not a really popular move at all. The fact that it's named after them should tell most people that, which is really just an arm triangle done from a weird position.
Yeah.
It's not that, like, I would really doubt that someone showed them this and they drilled it 10,000 times. I would bet they just really understood that if I can get my arm on one side of your neck and your shoulder on the other, and I can squeeze real hard, you're probably not going to like that.
So, to be fair, I think that would have emerged way sooner had coaches allowed people to explore more. Because I remember many times like learning the rear naked choke and someone having a fucking shoulder in the way and coaches coming through like, you'll never get a choke with that arm in there. You got to get rid of the arm because they're thinking rear naked choke. But like, if you just let that happen, eventually someone probably would have found that angle and figured it out. Right? Like it was just stifled for so long. And I bet you it emerged with those two because those two brothers probably tried to fucking kill each other so much and they didn't care what position they were in. I'm going to put you to sleep, bro.
Yeah, I mean, that does sound really accurate. I mean, I think I've talked with one of them before, and that sounds exactly like how they approach their life with each other, basically, is like, we're going to try and kill each other, and then cool stuff will happen. And now, like, I know they're not 100% eco. I mean, I've had conversation with them on a podcast prior, but they really resonate with a lot of the ideas I think that we do. And now they might say, like, we try something really cool, figure it out, and then we might drill it a little bit back and forth with each other. But they were pretty open that like most of their work they do is just live with each other going crazy. And like, I think that really shows. And I think that's part of why they are so creative, is that they have this basically like unscripted training with each other where they do just try and murder each other. And they are very similar sized, obviously very comparable levels of skill. So I think when you let these, and they're both smart kids. I mean, I think they're really smart kids. You let them, I guess they're not kids now. What, they must be in their 20s. Fuck, I'm getting old, man. But they're smart guys. They have a lot of unscripted time. They have a training partner who's extremely skilled in each other and like perfect size match. When you let that happen, cool stuff is going to emerge. And they're a great example of that cool stuff emerging. Like another person I'd use as like an example of like someone I think is really creative. Obviously, I mentioned Craig Jones. You see him do all this weird buggy shit. I think he's got like a Octopus Guard DVD out now.
Octopus 2.0, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess this guy's probably not doing 100 reps of an octopus guard, trying to get the perfect technique and perfect foot angle. Craig strikes me as the kind of guy who just gets into some wacky ass stuff and then sees where it takes him, and then over time builds a system and some best practices, some ideas that have really helped him. But like I think like you said, these things would have happened sooner if coaches weren't trying to force things to have a certain aesthetic to them. If we were willing to just be like, let's see where this goes, man. And if it works, go, okay, it worked once. Let's see if it works again. Let's see if this works on a different body. Let's see if this works on this guy. Let's see if this works with different defensive reactions. If coaches just let their students have this freedom, you'll see more and more of these kinds of things start happening. I don't think grappling is a solved game at all. Far from it. I think, especially in the next 10, 15 years, we're going to see a lot of cool new stuff emerge. Another guy, I know this is actually someone who's drilled a ton, is Keenan Cornelius. If you like the gi, anyone who was training in like the early 2010s in like the gi was probably a big Keenan fan. This dude came up with some wacky shit with those lapels.
He still is.
This guy is like, I argue this with my students all the day. They'll ask me like, who do you think the smartest guy in grappling is? I'm like, I think it's Keenan Cornelius, man. The shit this guy came up with in the gi, the ideas he had, the creativity he had with these lapels to come up with these positions. This is definitely a guy who's just playing and exploring a lot. Now, don't get me wrong. I know the gym he came from at the time was really big on drilling, so obviously he did that. But you cannot tell me that these things emerged from drilling known solutions, that he came up with these creative things. He definitely was playing around and fucking around in his own time. And you see it now when you watch like the YouTube comment. He's goofing around a lot of the time, just with people, just moving shit in weird positions and seeing what happens.
Who did he come up under?
I think it was Lloyd Irving for a long time. Ironically,
I thought so.
Greg came from, who now is the biggest anti-driller in the world.
I thought so, and then like I'm starting to think like, man, I wonder if they're kind of products of their environment, where the environment was so like strict and overbearing, and then when they got out of the environment, they just were like, fuck it, we ball. We're gonna like be creative, and we're out of this cage now. Because like how Greg is like progressed and like really done it differently. Same with Keenan. Like it's quite interesting.
I think they're both really intelligent guys. I know of some other people who trained in that Lloyd room for a while. I think when you put a lot of really smart guys in a room together who have a passion for the same activity, and you let them be free, which like, yes, they did a ton of drilling, but they also rolled a bunch.
Yeah.
They get to talk to each other. You can't tell me there's no chatting after class on the mats about moves or what's going on. You put enough smart people around each other, really cool stuff is going to happen. Yeah. I mean, that's like, I come from a like science and academia background. A lot of the biggest breakthroughs in science are you just put enough smart people around each other talking about stuff they know about. Cool things are going to happen. And I think that's kind of like, I really think Greg and Keenan are really intelligent guys. Put them together, have them start playing around with stuff. Now it's funny that one of them is known for like creating probably more gi things than anything else, and the other is now strictly no gi. So they took some different routes in that respect. But I think anytime you get those major gyms, you're going to see these cool things emerge. I mean, like obviously we look at the big gyms now, like New Wave, B Team, Autos, Art of Jiu-Jitsu. Cool stuff's always coming out of those. And is it necessarily because they're drilling cool stuff, or even is it because they're doing a lot of like CLA? I don't know. I really do think if you put enough smart people around and you let them be goofy together and play, cool stuff's going to come out of that. To me, that's an argument for CLA.
Yeah. Just one has a more rigid environment, one has a more open environment that's you can explore more, like figure it out, like
Yeah, like
Yeah, one that really pigeonholes you towards certain solutions, and one allows degeneracy to happen in those solutions, right?
and like when you see these guys coming out of these big gyms that do a lot of drilling, have this cool stuff, and a part of me wonders, like, if they were in an environment that allowed for more play, would we see more cool stuff emerge, or did they need that, like like you said earlier, just like the restriction, like when they're under those restrictions of like, we're drilling, we have these known solutions, and then you let them do their own thing, like, are they just now set free with all of this rabid energy that's just like, pent up of like, I just want to do some weird shit with this gi and see what happens, like.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'd ever know which one is true or false, but like for me, I see it even in my white belts, like cool stuff starts to emerge all the time, and I wonder where that's going to be with like 10 more years of running a gym. Like I've only been open for 3 years, so like it's a limited amount of time to see this cool stuff emerge. Where's this
Yeah.
going to go when these creative guys who are trying the CLA as white belts, and creativity is really all they've known, they start to become brown, black belt level skill, and I've had them for 10 years. Like, will the creativity just keep going? Will it get really wild and crazy? Or does it have like a limit? I'm really excited to see where that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. It'd be really interesting, and even just like the timeline of, I guess, the expression of skill in a way, like jiu-jitsu always brags, oh, 10 years to black belt. Well, how much can that shorten up? How much can that tighten up? Or even if it doesn't, like, what does a black belt look like at the end? How much different is it? Like, what is their understanding? How do they move? Are there these weird chunky things still, or is it just all fluid? Like, yeah, what does it look like?
And I've got some very strong opinions about the 10 years to black belt thing. I don't know if you want to get into that now, but
Yeah, let's go.
I think this is my personal opinion. I've said this to a bunch of my guys. I do think there's a base level of skill for a black belt. Now, like, I'm not going to say like I'm right or wrong, but like as an example, if I was using the skill I had when I received my black belt, let's say in theory that's the base level. Again, for people listening who might not be so good with understanding words, I'm not saying that is the base level, but I'm saying if we have to like pick one for now, let's pick an arbitrary level. I'm going to use that because it's, for me, very personal and I understand it. If it takes me 10 years to get someone to the level I got to in 10 years, I'm probably not a great coach. Like, I don't know. I could just like literally verbatim every class that I ever received for 10 years and give that verbatim to every student for 10 years. And then we'd be roughly similar, the same on average. Some students are more athletic, some are less, but our average would be the same. If I'm a good coach, shouldn't I be able to get people to that level and quicker? Like, I would think.
You think the time required would get less and less as you improve, make iterations, as your students eventually hopefully take on some kind of role. Like, you think it would speed up as time went, right?
I
But
mean,
you
you
don't
would
always
think
see that.
so. You
Yeah.
would hope so. I mean, if I had the collective knowledge of my 10 years and I'm an intelligent person, which I would hope I am, some people might debate you on that one. But assuming I was, like, you would think I'd be able to take those 10 years and go, okay, well, what worked really well out of this? What didn't? What lessons did I have to learn that took too long, that maybe if I'd learned earlier, I could have been better faster? Like, part of becoming a black belt and a coach should be reflecting on the journey that took you to get there, and then figuring out how we can make that journey easier for the next group coming through. Like, there are certain things I didn't learn until even like well into black belt. Like, I've made this argument before. I actually think I got better from the day I got my black belt till now than from the day I got my blue belt to the day I got my black belt. I think I've made significantly more improvements now. So like, I need to take those lessons and those understandings, things like we were talking about earlier, like understanding that sweeps are not a set series of moves, but like this underlying concept that applies, and just this foundational skill of like rotating human bodies. And now I should be able to give that to students in less than 10 years. Like, if it took me 10 years to figure that out, I should be able to teach someone that in less than 10 years. I know it now. It's easy. Like,
Yeah.
I look at something like, science. Like, people take decades of studying a subject to come up with an idea. It takes centuries sometimes for these things to happen, and then you can teach it to a student and teach all the math behind it in a semester.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I understand it now. It made sense. It took this guy, because he was the first person. I was the pioneer. It took him a long time to figure it out. It only took me a semester to teach it because we summarized it. We realized the stuff along the way that we didn't need, all those routes that they went down that didn't lead to anything, like, maybe we don't explore those as much. Sometimes you have to see what went wrong so that we can figure out how to get to the right path. But like the idea of these coaches being like, it took me 10 years to get a black belt, so it's going to take you 10 years to get a black belt, is kind of just like you telling me, like, I'm not that great at my job.
Mm. Can be a little gatekeepy too, I think sometimes, right?
Yeah, for
Like,
sure it is. I mean, you start adding this like arbitrary unit of time. Like, well, what if your student is phenomenal? Like, does he still have to wait 10 years? What if, like, are we pretending 10 years is some sort of weird magical marker? What if the guy trains 7 days a week, twice a day? He's constantly researching instructionals. This guy, maybe he's rich and he just wants to be the best in the world. He's training all the time. Will it take him 10 years if it took you 10 years while you're training 3 days a week?
yeah.
I don't know.
And
Like,
that's a really big point that people don't consider too. Like, what is 10 years? Is that 10 years once a week, twice a week, 7 times a week? Is that 10 years with, 3 years taken off as a break? Like, how consistent were they? Like, that's huge.
yeah, I mean, it's like we picked this. Like, now, if someone asked me like how long does it take to get a black belt, I would say like it varies wildly. An
Yes.
average person could expect somewhere around 10 years. Now, that's like the average person at my gym trains 2.6 times per week. Okay, so like now if you're willing to train 5 times per week, maybe that goes
That's
down a
not
little.
average. Yeah.
You're not on that average timeline. You're probably going to be a little quicker. If you really study this shit. Like, the average person probably doesn't watch a lot of instructional content. The average person probably doesn't watch a lot of training footage or compete very much. So if you're willing to do these extra things, that probably speeds it up.
Mhm.
I was like, again, I use academia as a great example. I tell someone, like, you go to your classes and you go home and you never think about it again. You might do okay. You'll learn stuff. Now, if you're the person who's going home, you're studying, you're going over notes, you're doing your homework, you're probably going to learn this shit faster than the other person who's not doing that stuff. Not
Yeah.
always. Some people are exceptional. We always have outliers. Like, every coach's bane of their existence is that one kid who does no extra work but shows up and is just incredible for some reason.
Yeah.
They don't pay any attention. You're like, you haven't been paying any attention. Go do this thing. And they're amazing at it, beating all the kids that paid attention. You're like, oh, fuck. Like, I want
Yeah.
this kid to suck so that he learns the lessons, but like, he just is good. Like, I don't know. It's natural. Some people have natural inclinations and abilities. Like, there's always outliers, but on average, like, 10 years isn't terrible. But if you're a coach telling people, like, I will not promote people faster than 10 years, like, you're just gatekeeping people for the sake of
Yeah.
gatekeeping people.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. I think it's silly, but I'd prefer that than the alternative of people getting black belts in like a year, because coaches just want to be like, I make people black belts in a year. You don't make them good though. So like,
Yeah. Yeah, there's always a balance. Like, you want to have a standard, and I've been known to have a. Sometimes people think my standard's a little bit too strict for belts, and maybe that's just because I'm hard on myself, and that's just how it comes. But like, I always tell my students, at least, like, hey, you get a belt from me, you can be damn fucking sure you deserve that belt,
mm-hmm.
right? Like, if you want it sooner, you can go to other gyms, because you'll probably get it sooner. But you can be damn fucking sure you deserve it once you get it from me, right? But we also, like, I try and build the culture so they're not focused on the belts. You always have your outliers of people who do, and they're set on it, and you have to tell them, like, hey, bro, you train once a week. What do you expect the outcome to be? This is going to take a long fucking time for you. Or, well, I'm a 5-year white belt. Yeah, but you took 2 years off. So, and before that, how often did you, like, consistency matters, and like the expression of your skill, right? Do you understand what's happening? Like, there's so many things into it, right?
yeah, I mean,
So,
it's not some sort of like punch card where it's like, oh, I showed up to this many classes, give me my belt. Like, there
no.
are gyms that do that, and like, that's great. If you want to get your belt from there, like in 9 months, like some gyms do, hey, by all means, man, you are more than welcome to go do that. Like,
Yeah.
same thing as you. I've had students come in and I'm like, man, listen, this is gonna suck. Like, if you want your belt quick, I can give you 3 gyms in the city that you can get it
Yeah.
way quicker than here. But I promise you, if you get your belt there that quick and then you come to my gym, my students are going to laugh behind your back. Like,
And that's
As soon as you leave, they're going to be like, "There's no fucking way that guy was a blue belt," and I'm not going to stop them because I'm like, under our system, he's not. Now, some other coach was willing to put his name on that. Like, I'm sure you feel very similar. If I give a belt out, my name is on that thing.
yes,
If you go to another gym and you're terrible, that my name's on that. Like,
yeah.
just you doing it. I'm not saying my guys all have to be world champions before they get promoted, but I don't ever want my students going to another gym and having people go, "That guy doesn't deserve the belt he has," because my fucking name is on that. That means a
That
lot.
and there's that aspect which is big. Like if my name's going on it, like it has to mean something. That's why that standard's there. But also, like I don't want to set you up to fail
No,
because you get your blue belt, you're so excited, you go to another gym and you get fucking marked by like a two-stripe white belt or a beginner or like something, and then you were embarrassed beyond belief, and then all of a sudden now you carry that embarrassment, so now you shell up and you don't want to take risks anymore because you have a belt to defend, and there's all this bullshit that now you've put on your own shoulders. Like I don't want to set someone up to be like that,
no.
you
Like,
know.
the good example is: would you rather be the white belt that everyone complains isn't a blue belt, or would you
Yeah,
rather be the blue belt that everyone thinks should still be a white belt? I know
right.
which one I'd rather be. I'd
Yeah.
rather be the one that people are like I've had guys who compete. I've had 3 or 4 competitors who people have from other gyms have come up to me after tournaments and gone, "How the hell is this dude not a blue belt yet? Or how the hell is this dude not a purple belt? Like this is insane." And I go, "Hey, listen, like, for some of the white belts who I've had that, I'm like, dude, the blue belts in my gym whoop this guy every time. Like he's not like in our
And then
system,
how
that's not what he
embarrassing
is."
is that?
But I'm like, in my system, that's not what he is. Just
Yes,
because it would be that in your system or your criteria doesn't mean I have to compromise my morals and my integrity to suit your desire to have your guy win in competition because my white belt was good. And sometimes I'll
yeah,
be like, dude, the guy's been training for like 5 months. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, he's not that good. He has positions he's not great in. He has concepts he doesn't understand yet. He's
right.
not ready for that next belt. He's just good. Like he understands the game. He's creative. Sorry, your guy's like pull guard to triangle armbar combination that he has, and that's the only move he can do didn't work. Like I apologize. Like sorry, I'll make my guys worse so that your guys can feel better about themselves. You know,
Yeah,
if that's happening, you should look at your own self. If you're rolling with like there are obviously some gyms that sandbag guys where you're like, okay, this guy is obviously like they've met the criteria to be promoted a long time ago and they're
hmm
not promoting them because they want them to win the world championships. I can throw back to an anecdote of a person I knew who was a white belt for like 6 years so that they could win white belt worlds back when they had white belt worlds.
yeah.
Do they still have white belt worlds? I don't think so. Right? I don't
I'm
know.
not sure.
I don't know. I don't agree with sending white belts to worlds. So whatever. That's just another hot take. But yeah, if you're a white belt world champion, it just means you're a shitty blue belt. But like obviously we can argue like this dude's been a competitive white belt for like 5 years. He's winning all these tournaments locally. You just keep sandbagging him so that he can win this world championship. So you can market your gym as having created a world champion. Again, not a real world champion. You're winning in a fake division. That's another point I go wildly off on. Unless you're winning adult black belt, you're not a world champion. Sorry, you're not. Listen, I'm in Masters. I'm Masters 1. If I were to go win Masters 1 Worlds, I'm not a world champion. I'm an old man. That's all it is, man. Like,
It's not
I'm
the
an old
peak, yeah.
man. You didn't win black belt adult. That's the world championship. You didn't win like the ADCC adult. Like, don't come at me with these fake. I'm a 7-time world championship in blue belt master 7. Okay, so
Hmm
like I can also make up accolades. That's cool too. You won the equivalent of like a regular local tournament. That's like it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's a fun tournament. It has skill. There are talented people there. You won a good event. The words world champion need to continue to mean something. The more we dilute it, the less and less it means. Like, I really like wrestling for this. Like, there's one world championship. You have to qualify to get in. Each country gets to send one person. Each country that qualifies gets to send one person. If you win it, you're a world champion. Like,
yeah.
there's no novice world champion. There's no, I've been training 2 years and under world champion or a purple belt world champion. If you win, under 23 worlds, like these age group ones, you're an age group world champion. You are not the world champion.
Yeah, when there's like hundreds of world champions crowned every single year, it's like, holy fuck, bro.
Yeah. you're not a world champion. Like this stuff drives me crazy. But like there are people who obviously sandbag because they want to win these like weird made up titles to put on their Instagram to, I don't know, like sell instructional content or impress women who
For
don't
sure.
care.
Well, yeah, because they probably think like, oh, if I put gold medalist in my profile, now all of a sudden people are going to value me more. But maybe, but also maybe they're just going to show up and see if they like your class or not, and they're just going to go to the gym that's more convenient for them to drive to, because convenience is the number one seller, you know. And then if people actually care about it, then they will oftentimes look for a gym that is better suited to them, right? But convenience is the first sell always,
I mean,
right?
what's that stat that most people, if they're like Googling a gym, will go to one of the first three that show up on Google?
Yeah,
It's just,
yeah.
it's nearby, it's convenient, and they don't know better, man. Like,
Yeah, and any good coach and just people in general, if they know, like they also know competing and coaching are vastly different skill sets. You know, like
incredibly different skill sets.
yeah,
They're not
um,
similar.
yeah. That's the thing too. Like the whole sandbagging thing. Yeah, there are some very egregious circumstances for sure. I've seen it. Right. I've been accused of it occasionally. One particular was one of my white belts. He's a gray belt now, and one individual got kind of mad and like, you just sandbagged him for so long. It's like, but bro, do you realize for the last year he would continually fight up at least two fucking weight classes and age groups, and that's just who he was getting thrown with. So then if I give him a gray belt and they continue to do that at gray belt, then he is super fucked. Like he is going into like different weight classes and age groups and he's losing because that's all he has for opponents. So what does it matter? You know? And then now suddenly he's getting people more his size and he's winning. Great. Now he's a gray belt. Easy fix. You know, like I have a kid right now. He's a two-stripe white belt, right? And he got thrown into a gray belt division, two gray belts, black stripes, right? And he beat both of them, right? So then people are like, well, he should be a gray belt. I'm like, he's not a fucking gray belt. And he knows that, right? You could look at the jujitsu and like how smooth those other two were, and they for sure were better at jujitsu than him. But that day, he's also like built, he's 190 pounds, Joey.
Gee,
He's 13 and 190 pounds.
that's a heavy Chevy right there.
Bro, I have to put him with like the biggest guy in the gym as a partner usually because like his problem is he's like kind of dangerous. Like his first tournament, he blew a kid's shoulder out because the ref wasn't paying attention. You know, so like we're really working on like making him more safe, making him think and focus on things a little bit more so he's not just like wrecking people because there is a safety aspect there. And that's one of his big hurdles that he's going to have to get over to get to be a gray belt, right? And people might not agree with that, but it's like no, like safety and like being able to trust someone with other people is part of my expectations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, because he's really fucking strong and he happened to be able to beat people in certain areas and beat two gray belts like that. Great, that's fantastic. But that doesn't make him a gray belt, you know?
No, I mean, I think the idea of like there's a separation between performance environment and a belt. A belt, in my opinion, at least the way my gym does it, is a lot around like at least 50% of the belt is around the brain. Like, what can you do? Like, what do you know? What are your abilities? What do you understand? Like, your understanding of grappling. And you will run into guys who are freakishly athletic, who their physical skill far outpaces their ability. Like, we've all had those guys who you're like, oh man, like, did you know? He's like, I don't even know what I was doing. I was just fucking doing it, bro. I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm just
100%.
fast and athletic. Like, I just squeezed real hard and the guy tapped. And you're like, okay, man. Like, and you get those guys who are like, are they, maybe you have a guy, I'll talk mostly about adults again. I don't teach kids as much, but like, we've all seen those white belt who are like in a specific area. This guy is definitely like a high level blue belt, arguably a purple belt quality. But every other aspect of this guy's game sucks. Does
Yeah.
that mean I have to give him a blue belt based on one aspect of his game? No. For me, a blue belt requires like a general level of skill. Now, you can be a
Yes.
specialist in one area, and that won't help you. I mean, I've had students at previous gyms. I use a one kid. I think he was Amish. I don't know. Maybe I've been calling him Amish. He might not have been. He grew up around the Amish kids.
My
Strong
Amish
as
brother.
all hell. He was like 130 pounds, felt like he was like 190. This kid would pull guard, slap on either a closed guard, Kimura, or triangle, and he was good at them, man. I was a brown belt at the time, I think, and he was a white belt, and he got me a few times with this thing. But if you managed to pass his guard, nothing. If he was
Yeah,
on top, nothing. But in that one area that he liked, he was dangerous, and he won a lot of tournaments because he just went to the area he liked. He was super strong and physical and not afraid to be aggressive, and especially at like especially in kids with like the white, and we're talking like white gray, or even adults at white belt, you can win a lot of matches by just being willing to be physical, being in good shape, and pushing a pace. And people just
for
can't
sure.
handle that, and they lose. That doesn't mean you were better. Like I said earlier, like you weren't better at grappling. You were better at breathing air and being strong. Like
Yeah.
that'll win you matches, man. Doesn't mean I need to promote them. I've
No.
had, I've definitely had students that, honestly, I've had a couple students I've promoted before I actually believed their like mind and skills were at blue belt level because they were doing so well in tournaments. I promoted them just to give them a step up in competition, even though I was like,
Yeah.
listen, like in the gym, like might not necessarily have given you this belt, but you're crushing everyone in competition. So I'm going to give it to you because you need for your development a higher level of competition. Like,
Yeah.
I've had white belts at my gym who were beating blue belts in tournaments for like 5 straight tournaments in blue belt divisions. And I'm like, okay, like I have to give this guy a blue belt. Like I have to because he needs that level of challenge. I've had white belts who beat purple belts in competitions. I'm like, I've got to promote this guy just so he doesn't lose, or not so that he doesn't lose, just so he can lose because he needs to run into difficulty. He needs to run into problems that he's just not getting at those lower belt levels. So sometimes
Yeah.
with competitors, they have these different needs, but
For
like
sure.
I like to. I'm a little silly with my promotion sometimes. I had 2 of my students meet in the gold medal match of a tournament, and I just like turned to one of our other students. And I was like, "Winner gets a blue belt. Fuck it. I
Yeah.
don't care. We're not going to tell him, but winner gets a blue belt." And we just let him go through that. We voted one of them. Like, hey, he won, man. He deserves it. I had another student recently that I gave a purple belt to because I wanted him to compete, but there was no one in his blue belt division. So I signed him up for purple belt and was like, well, I guess I better give him a fucking purple belt. He didn't know he was competing till like 5 days before the event. I gave him the purple belt on Monday. I was like, oh, by the way, you're competing at purple belt. Have fun. He went and won.
Nice.
Now, in fairness, he really did deserve a purple belt. He was very
Yeah.
good. You know, he deserved it, but it was fun. It's fun for me. Like I like having some fun with them like that, and they like having fun. Takes the pressure off their shoulders. Like we thought, he was the one of the guys who struggled with pressure. Hey, man, you're up a belt level. You had no notice for this tournament. There's no pressure on you whatsoever. Fantastic performance. Great. Awesome. That helps solve the problem. So competitors kind of get like different little criteria sometimes depending on their individual needs. Like you said, you're one student who's winning by being like giant and strong. Like even if the technical level's not there, he might be beating these other guys because he's just like physically better than them in a very physical sport and has like certain areas that he's skilled at that maybe the other guy isn't. Like that doesn't necessarily mean he's a higher belt level, but like, you know, he
Yeah, I think the primary thing is he is just so physical and it overwhelms people. But in the same respect, because of how we train, I think he is just able to adapt in those gray areas more than other people are. And that's really frustrating. It kind of freezes people up, and then now there's an opportunity to act a little bit, right? Um, and he understands too. I'm like, hey man, I know like this is fantastic. You did great, but you do know just because you beat 2 gray belts, it doesn't mean you have a gray belt coming in the mail, right? And he's like, no, I understand. Like, I need to work on calming down and being more safe and stuff. Like he gets it, right? Um, and that's important. And like, yeah, I think I stole this from Greg, just like I stole everything in my whole life, internet. But I think he used the analogy of basically belts are like a key to the next stage, right? So like if they're whooping all the white belts, all the blue belts, whatever the case is, and you need the key to open the door to the next level of competition, so be it, right? And that's very much what you're saying too, and I like that. So
yeah,
usually what we do before I pull that trigger is like fight up a weight class, fight up 2 weight classes, fight up an age group. And oftentimes, honestly, my crew almost always seems to have to do that anyway, just because they don't seem to have enough competitors. So we're always fighting up classes. But then, yeah, if you're consistently like needing that, like you've met the twins, they
yeah,
always end up in the finals together, it seems, and they fucking hate it.
1000%.
Right. So usually what happens is Jonah will fight up a weight class or two, so they get split up, or sometimes they'll jump onto a different belt level, right? Um, Last time Noah decided, oh, I'm going to fight up the weight class instead, right? And fantastic. Just giving them challenges still. Because, yeah, if they're walking through all the divisions, that's great, but like
Mhm.
not for long. I want them challenged. I want them losing too, right? That's important.
Yeah, I mean, I think the belt system is flawed in a lot of ways, but I think
For
it's
sure.
really wonderful. The way I look at it for competition, especially, is if you were to play, like, we're Canadian, so anyone who's listening to this who's not Canadian, you might not understand this, but if you played like hockey as a Canadian, there's different levels. There's like a local like house league, which is just within your city, and then if you're good enough, you might qualify for a citywide team that travels to other cities. And if you're even better, you might fight for or compete for like a regional team that goes like even further distances. And like the idea of this structure is that the best kids will move up a level, and then the best of those will move up another level. So if you're dominating the level you're in, there's another level to move you up to play with better kids, probably more dedicated coaching, probably more time, more practice opportunity to help, in theory, eventually down the road, develop these kids into perhaps a professional system. The best kids get, they move through these levels to more specified training. And we also have the age groups. Well, for adults, that doesn't exist in basically any sport.
Mhm.
I can't go, for instance, I can't really join like a competitive wrestling tournament without being chucked in with like just like there's a tournament here in Alberta, the Alberta Open. It's just like it's a wrestling tournament, bro. Are you over 18? Cool. Here's your bracket. I'm like, well, the other kids in this bracket have all wrestled since they were 2 and wrestle for like universities and want to make world teams. I don't belong in that bracket, but I want to get into this sport and build my skills and test it in a competitive environment. Well, that just doesn't exist. The belts
Mhm.
allow us to simulate what a lot of sports use through youth, like the youth system of like different skill levels that kids can move up through to test themselves further, different age levels. We can do that with adults in jiu-jitsu using the belt system. Like
Yeah.
it's quite wonderful that way that we can use that as like these barometers. Like, hey, are you having a lot of success in the white belt division? Okay, well, it's probably time to move you up to the blue belt division so that you can continue to challenge yourself. And if you're winning at that, cool, we'll move you up. Um, Now that doesn't always align with like the in the gym skill. So I think like as
Yeah.
coaches of competitors, you kind of have to have like some sort of weird double standard thing where it's like, especially with the adults, am I using this as like a competitive barometer where I'm trying to build the skill in this person with like that, zone of proximal development in competition over time? Or am I trying to use this as some sort of like academic degrees and like gateways there? And they're not aligned. So sometimes like I might need to move a student up or not move a student up, even though like we've all had the guy who's got a ton of knowledge, they're super smart and they just can't seem to put it all together physically for whatever reason. You're like,
Yeah.
but if that guy doesn't compete, I'll probably promote him. Now, if he wants to compete every weekend and he's telling me he wants to be the best competitor, if he's losing every match, even if he's got all this knowledge, I can't promote you because I'm just moving you into a skill level you're not ready for, and it's only going to hurt your development. We need to use these like white belt divisions as like literally developmental leagues, like for people who watch like I'll try. I've used the Canadian analogy. I'll try to use an American one. Like baseball, they have like the MLB, and then there's like the levels below that. You don't just slap someone in the MLB who's never played baseball before. They have to move through these levels, and as they excel in one, now maybe they move up to the next one, and it might take time, but like that's what these levels are here for, is to develop talent, and that's what we're trying to do as coaches.
Yeah, it's huge. And like, again, like competition results sometimes play a big part in that. Sometimes they don't. Like, I definitely have a double standard because, like, at the end of the day, I don't want to set someone up to fail.
No.
I don't. I don't want to give them a belt and then all of a sudden they go into that next belt level and they're beating them all for the next 6 tournaments because obviously that's been waiting too long, right?
Mhm.
I want adversity, but I also don't want them to go in there like you were talking about that fellow where he just can't put it together. Okay, say he does want to compete and you promote him and then he loses 20 fucking tournaments in a row. I don't know too many people who are going to stick that out. So like, what's better for this guy? Training jujitsu or not training jujitsu? If we keep him at that belt level for another year, is that really that big of a deal at a local scene? Probably not. Like, I have a girl where I could probably give her a gray belt at this point, but I'm like, I want her to get a couple more white belt tournaments under her belt because I don't think there's going to be any competitors at gray belt for her. It's just not, there's no competitors out there. So what do? She likes competing, right? She doesn't get to compete then. Maybe in a year's time, there'll be a couple more girls. Like, yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it.
It is tough because like you have the best interest of your students in mind, and
Yeah.
like I know some people be like, "Well, that guy's been a white belt for this long." It's like, he hasn't won a fucking match, bro. Like, why do you care? Like,
Yeah.
the guy, if the guy's been a white belt for 4 years and he hasn't won a match, it's like you should be like hoping this guy stays a white belt forever. Like,
Yeah,
you
don't
should
rub
hope
the
your
salt
guys
in.
get
What the
him
fuck?
first round of every tournament. What do you don't go and promote the guy? What are you talking about? Like, I'm fine when like I take it as a compliment when guys from other gyms tell me like, "Hey,
Yeah.
your white belt needs to be a blue belt." That's a compliment. And usually, if I get enough complaints, I'll like when I promote them, it's usually I give a little speech for everybody. It's usually like, "Listen, this person's gotten like 25 complaints in the last 3 months, so like, my hand's a little forced here. Like,
Yeah.
if you cause enough people to complain, I will consider promoting you. Like,
Yeah.
that's I don't like anyone. I don't like people complaining to me, man. I don't want to deal with it. So if you cause enough other coaches to complain to me about your skill level being too high, that's a good problem for you to have. Like
Yeah.
I think that's fine. But
Yeah.
other gyms will disagree. They have their own systems of like, you showed up to this many classes, here's your blue belt. And it's like, okay, like I don't know, man. That to me that doesn't make sense, and to me that kind of is antithetical to the idea of like being a good coach and like using the belt system to develop skill and talent. But if we just want to make it like a reward system, like a piece of candy after a number of times, like I guess we can do that too. That's up to them. I think personally that really waters down a martial art. But hey, to each their own.
Yeah, I hate the belt system for that, especially the kids' belt system because they have the solid colors and then they get bumped to gray and then they have gray with a white stripe and solid gray and then gray with a black. We got rid of all of the additional belts. We only do the solid color belts.
I like
My coach joined in on that as well. I thought he was gonna fight me on it. He's like, "No, I like the idea. Let's do it." I'm like, "Fuck, done, bro." So,
I think we're
and,
going to do that too. I think this is going to start becoming more popular.
mhm.
Yeah, I think it's good for the kids too. I think it
I
teaches them some really valuable stuff about
yeah,
like the belt. It being hard to get in itself is
yeah,
makes it meaningful, and I think that's something that a lot of kids struggle with nowadays in this world of like instant gratification all the time. Like I think sometimes some kids just need to struggle.
right. And I've talked to people on both sides of the fence because I chewed on it for a long time until we pulled the trigger. And some people, they're like, "Hey, think about a 6-year-old." And like they perceive time so much different. And if it's going to take them all that time to get a gray belt, like that's a enormous chunk of their life. I'm like, yeah, that's right. You're not wrong there. However, I don't want the 6-year-old worrying about their belt. I want them having fun. Like that's the primary purpose at that age. Like I don't really care about competition. They're having fun. They're getting life experience. They're learning lessons outside. I don't really give a fuck about the belt, right? And nor should they. Now they will, but once in a while when they get that stripe, it's going to mean so much more to them. I hate how the youth belt system is basically based on external gratification and motivation, where it's like we're just dangling these stripes in front of these kids to continue having. I want them there because they want to be there, because it's fun, they're learning, and they have value in it. I don't care about the belts, right?
I
And
mean,
but I've also
long term motivation has to be intrinsic. Like
yes,
if our motivation is extrinsic, at some point that's going to fail. People
yes,
are going to stop caring about that carrot at the end of the stick. The
yeah,
motivation to continue and get better has to come from inside you. It can't come from this like shiny trinket or piece of tape that I'm going to offer you. That might work in the short term, but in the long term, it's going to fail
yeah. I and then talking to coaches who took away the additional striped belts in the system, what they found, which I found really cool, is their culture just shifted basically to like, oh, they used to value more belts on or stripes on a belt or whatever, and they started valuing worn out belts. So like when a kid would get a worn out gray belt, that was the cool thing, you know?
more.
So like their culture just shifted where the belts didn't matter as much, but like now just the worn out belts were the kind of the cool thing. So I'm like, well, that's pretty cool, right? Like at the end of the day, I just try and have them understand like the belts are going to vary so much. It's such an individual thing, and it's going to vary across so many different gyms and countries, even. And like they really don't matter at the end of the day. Like, focus on the skill, focus on having fun. Everything else will come. If you are worried about your development, you have that conversation with me. I'm very open, especially with adults when I'm promoting them to belts. I give them 3 things they need to work on. They need to accomplish those things before they get their belt, and it gives them a timeline. It's not a surprise. There is a surprise element, but they also, at the end of the day, have worked towards that surprise. So they're not like, fuck, I didn't want this belt. Because that's my big thing. I think this comes from my desire to never get belts, right? Because I wanted my blue. I felt great about my blue. I didn't want my purple. I felt shit about it. I was running from brown. I'm running from black. Just my personality. So I've tried to build into my system where it's like, I'm going to give you goals that you can work towards. And once you feel proud that you've accomplished those, then that next step is there for you. Right?
I love that, man. I love that you like have that conversation with them. I don't think enough coaches are willing to do that. They want this to be like a. You always hear like, if you ask me about your belt, it adds like time to how long it takes you to get it. And it's like, man, shouldn't you be communicative with your partner, your students? Like, shouldn't if they ask you a question, shouldn't you just answer them? Like, how hard is it to go out of your way if someone says, "I think I'm ready for a blue belt," and be like, "Hey, I want to see these 3 things from you first." Now they feel good because you've given them guidance and direction. They have a clear idea of what to work on. They know where you stand. But if you're just like, "Don't ask about belts," it's like they might not know where they are or what they need to work on. They might have no
Yeah, it's like that's such a good opportunity. You have someone coming to you engaged in the process and with a goal. Why wouldn't you leverage that? Of like, great, I see you're motivated, fantastic. Here are some things to work on. Like a motivated individual can get a lot done, you know?
oh,
Meanwhile, if they come to you motivated and you're like, don't ask me that question. You're going to wait another 6 months now. Well, what the fuck, bro? You just nuked that engagement and that open door that you had. Like that doesn't work, you know?
and for nothing.
Um,
Like you, if you're willing to say stuff like that, you literally just prove to your student that the belt is not a meritocracy. It has nothing to do with merit because you just made me wait because what I asked you a question you didn't like. Well, what else are we going to make these people like wait for? Like, he looked at me. He was late for class one day. He waits another 2 months. So it's not about merit or skill at all. It's about how much you like me. Do I get it faster if I polish the wheels of your car? Like, do I get it quicker if I shine your shoes? Like, what do I have to do? Then you create these situations where it's like people feel like they're almost like in servitude of their coach to try to get this thing. Like, it's not what it's about, man. I have conversations with my guys about belts and not just with them, with like some of their training partners. Like if I think I'm close to promoting someone, like any gym, people have their favorite training partners, the ones they roll with the most. I'll even pull one of them aside and be like, "Hey man, like how do you feel about that person? Like how do you feel about Brian or whatever? Do you think Brian's like close to blue belt? Like, especially the more senior guys. Like if I got a purple belt who rolls with a white belt all the time and they're buddies, they get along, they just have personalities that drive. I'll be like, how close do you think he is? Like when you roll with him, like what's your experience? Because I can roll with people and get a vastly different impression of their skill level than when they roll with someone else. Like I've definitely had guys where I've asked someone about like, hey, how do you think this person's ready for a blue belt? And they're like, dude, this person's more than ready. I'm like, what? When I roll with them, I don't get that impression at all. Like, and other people will be like, dude, they're more than ready. Like they're so good when they roll with me. I have such a hard time. And I realize like when I'm rolling with them, maybe they have that thing where they're like, oh, it's the coach. He's so much better than me. I'm not going to try this stuff. Or they like the way they roll with me is skewed from the way they roll with everyone else just
that's
because
so
of
tough.
that dynamic. So like I need
Yeah.
that feedback from other people and like it helps me make good decisions. So like I
Yeah.
don't think these belts should be some sort of like secretive, like, all encompassing hierarchy. It should be something that's more of an open conversation.
Yeah. I've had people come to me, coach, what do I need to work on? I've had people come to me and like, what do I need to get to my blue belt? And oftentimes, like, it depends because like the way I see it is people get their 4th stripe and they get put on ice for a while because they just got promoted, right? And then something has to trigger my head where I just think about a blue belt in them. They're moving or something, and then I just keep an eye on them more. And it's not an immediate thing, and then I think I really start watching them and I gather what are the biggest 3 problems they're still struggling with or what would make their game so much better. And then I gather that and then I'll approach them. But sometimes they approach me when I haven't gone through that process yet. And I have to be like, hey, bro, I don't know. give me a couple like days. I'm going to watch you and I'm going to figure that out. Right. Because, you know, sometimes you need to focus on, and I have a smaller room, so it's a little easier, but sometimes you have to focus on other individuals. You can't focus on everyone at the same time. Right. So sometimes just like, I don't know, but I'll get back to you. And then you
I
damn
think
well make sure you get back to them, you know?
I think that's amazing, man. I literally, I think 2 nights ago, I had this conversation with a student at my gym where I said one of the things I wish more coaches would be willing to do about anything is just say, I don't know. Whether it's about like, what do I need to work on right now? Like, hey, I'm not sure. Give me a few days to watch you roll and formulate a plan for you. Or like, hey, what would I do from this position? I'm not sure. Let me get myself in it. Let me play from there and see, and I'll try and get back to you. You know, like I think there's this weird sense that a lot of coaches have to have or have where they think they have to have all the answers, or like if they don't have all the answers right now, their students won't trust them or listen to them. It's like
Mhm.
there's no harm in saying like, I really don't know. Let me go investigate that for you. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know right off the top of my head. Let me think about that.
Yeah.
I think students really appreciate that. I think they appreciate honesty, and I think honestly, it shows more than trying to be some sort of like all-knowing being of like I have all the answers all the time. Just being like,
Mhm.
you know what, I'm not really sure, but I care about you and I care about my job and your question, so I'm gonna go home tonight and I'm gonna find the answer for you. Like,
Yeah, I like your how you looped in, "Hey, coach, I'm having a problem with this. How would you solve it?" Or whatever. Because, like, yeah, sometimes I'm just like, sometimes I can just give the answer, like, "Oh, have you considered this or try this or whatever." Sometimes they're like, "Come here for a second. Let me feel it first."
yeah,
You know, like I got to feel this out because, like, that's um, I was when I was teaching more traditionally, I was a very detail orientated guy, but I'm not necessarily like that naturally in my grappling. In my grappling, I just do a lot of shit and I don't know how it emerges. So I had to like really like dig into that kind of stuff. So I'm still very much that way where it's like, put me there. Let me formulate an answer based on like let me feel it because I don't know what you're feeling, right? Especially if it's with a certain partner or whatever, right? But I also I liked how you talked about, hey, I'm going to go ask other people how they feel about this person's skill level because I might have a skewed version of that. Because 100% I feel that, like I have an individual who's getting close to blue and he rolled with another blue belt who's been a blue belt for quite some time. He's got a couple stripes on there. He's not from my gym. And that guy's like, when the fuck is this guy getting his blue belt? And I'm like, I don't know when I can, like, this guy's quite a bit bigger than me. Maybe when I can stop beating his ass. But I'm like, but that's not fair either. Like I know his game and it's like, it's hard sometimes because like the way you interact and grapple with them and what you see, well, yeah, it's going to be different. And the longer you do this, um, it's just hard sometimes,
yeah,
you
man.
know?
It's a hard situation. So just being able to be like, I'm gonna outsource some of it to other people. Like, what do you
Yeah.
guys think, man? Like, what do you? I do this even like we were just talking about the position stuff. Like, I'm very much like you. I guess this is probably baked into the probably part of the reason why we love the CLA so much is the idea of affordances. Like, if someone asks me what I do from a position, a lot of time, I'm like, you got to put me in there, and I got to see what like I feel when I'm in there. Like,
Yeah.
I need that like haptic feedback of like another like the body grabbing mine to be like, oh, it's really obvious to me the moment I step into the position that this is the course of action I would take. But I
Mhm.
didn't know that until I got in there and felt it. Like sometimes that information is really obvious to me. And if you try to coach without that information, like I might give you like, oh, I would just posture from here. And they're like, I can't posture at all. And then I put in, like, oh, I can't posture at all from here. Okay, this is now obviously where I would move. And it just feels intrinsic to me. So like I do
Yeah.
that all the time. But sometimes I'll even do that with other guys where I'll be like, this is what I would do from here. And they'll be like, grab one of my other senior guys and be like, hey, put him in that position for a second. What would you do from here? And he might show something entirely different than what I did, but it's still equally valid. And it's just our bodies perceive the information that was available in different ways. Or like I'm 170 pounds, he's 190. He felt something different than I felt. So I think like as a coach, we can outsource a lot of this information to like other people in our gym. I know my gym is built on a culture of like everybody has something to contribute, not just me. Like I'm not this like supreme being that knows all the answers and like no answer is right unless it's the answer I would give. Like I try to encourage this all the time. Like I've had students like blue belts where white belts ask them like, what would you do from here? And they look at me and they're like, what would you tell them? I'm like, he didn't ask me, bro. He asked you. Tell him. And he's like, well, I don't want to give him a wrong answer. And I'm like, tell him what you would do from here, and then that's the right answer to the question. He didn't ask
Mhm.
what is the objective truth from this position. He asked, what would you do? If you tell
Yeah.
him what you would do, that's the right answer to that question. And it's a viable solution. Now, I might give him a different answer, but it doesn't make yours wrong.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's just like an important thing as part of a gym. And I think that's something CLA helps with a lot is like it takes some of that away from me and builds more of this culture where like we're all teammates looking to build together. You don't always have to come to me for everything. Like the purple belt has as much, he's going to give you an equally valid answer. No, if it's beyond his ability, if he's like, I have no fucking clue, I'll go ask Joe. I might be there for that. That's what I'm here for. But like, I'm sure you get the same thing where with you're in a game. Like one of the things I always tell people, if they're like, I'm not really sure what's happening here. It's like, ask the guy you're doing it with, man. Like,
Mhm.
oh, we're playing a game and this guy swept me 8 times in a row and I'm not sure what's going on. Ask the guy who just swept you 8 times in a row. He probably could give you a piece of information that's really useful
Yeah.
here, man. He just did it to you. Like, you don't need me to come around and say that. Now, if he's bamboozled, I can come around and help. But like, communicate with each other, guys. You're missing so much valuable information if you're not just like involving more people.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes two to tango, right? Like I always use the if someone's annoying you with what they're doing because it's effective, pay attention to that thing, right? Because oftentimes you can figure out, oh, that's probably my biggest problem right now. And if I can remove that, I'll have more success. But maybe I need to focus on that a little bit more because it's fucking annoying, and I can use that. It's effective, evidently. If I've tried 6 times and it's still bugging me, well, it must be pretty effective.
I'll give my wife a little shout out because she does this thing that drives me absolutely insane. Anytime I start trying to take her back, she just does like 5 barrel rolls. Like she doesn't care about where she is, and she just starts barrel rolling. And I
Yeah.
cannot hold on to her back when she does it. I eventually lose the position. And like we might end it looks so stupid, but it drives me absolutely insane because I'm like, I can't take this woman's back. Anytime I get close, just like it's like a barrel getting thrown off Niagara Falls. It's just flipping all over the place, and I can't chase it. I'm not like able to do it. And one day, someone was trying to take my back, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this crazy woman's strategy. Like she's a bit of a lunatic, so I'm going to try this. Like, this might be the stupidest thing I've ever done. Boom,
Yeah.
got out, ended up in a guard. I was like, that was fucking strange. Didn't expect that to happen. So now I've started realizing a lot of times when people are like chasing it back, if you can just roll real fast, you can win that scramble because I just beat you with the fact that I'm covering my back to the mat and then I know where I'm going next and you don't. And you're trying to follow. And especially when we start bringing those concepts of like, if I can barrel roll and pop my hips up while I do it, I might end up on top during this. So like that was just something that she used to piss me off with, man, every single round. And I was like, you know what? If you can't beat him, join him. I'm just gonna start barrel rolling now. Now
Yeah.
I get
But
to
that makes a lot of sense though, because like, oh God, I need to sneeze and I'm not sneezing. Jesus is annoying. It makes a lot of sense because, like, say someone's taking your back or whatever, and you're trying to turn to face them, but you just can't get that like elbow knee connection to get them out of that space, right? Well, fuck. If they're not controlling your far side, go elbow knee, and if you just roll, eventually that connection's in front of them again, and then you can re-guard from there, right? It's a nice little trick. But yeah, if you just keep fucking spinning, eventually you can get your elbow knees in there. Eventually, if they can't keep up, it can get over your hips and stay over your hips. Well, you're just gonna be gone.
Yeah,
It's yeah.
it's genuinely extremely annoying to deal with, and it's like the stupidest, most childish defense to the situation, but it really does. Like it works, and it's like
Yeah.
I just started doing it because I'm like, man, she's just annoyed me one too many times, and now I want to annoy other people the way she's annoyed me, and then now
Yeah.
it does, and it's one of those things where like, man, when people do something that frustrates you, like you said, take note because that's probably something that's kind of useful. Or if you do it with someone and they have a really clever solution, you just found a solution for the thing that was annoying you. Congratulations. You doing the
And
annoying thing gave you the clue on how to beat the annoying thing.
yeah, and give your room like the room to breathe when it comes to that kind of stuff. Because like again, we were talking about the rotolotine and a lot of that stuff is like, don't do that. Like, how many people would see that and be like, "What are you doing? Knock that off!" Like, because that could look kind of
Yeah.
goofy. You roll 5 times to get off. Like, no, that's not how we do it. We regard. you turn to face them. Meanwhile, it's like, this is working against a pretty good fucking black belt, bro. Like, leave it alone. Like,
Like
what
I
the
love
fuck?
as a coach, I'm sure you feel the same way, but when you watch stuff like that happening, I just like to watch, even if it looks silly. I'm like, I just want to see where this goes. What? And
Yeah,
now a lot of the times it's a disaster and it doesn't work, and you're like, okay, that's what I thought. But then sometimes you're like, interesting. Didn't think that
yeah,
would happen. I like watching to see where it goes, and it's not hurting anybody. Let these kids have their fun, man. I say kids,
yeah,
most of them are adults, but let them have
yeah.
their fun. They're all kids to me, man. They're like giant children,
It's
but let them all have their fun.
but they learn the same, right? Like the approach in which you interact with them might be different, but humans learn the same way. Like whether they're our age or younger, right? Like let them explore, let them figure it out. And of course, safety is always the stipulation there. If they're doing something dangerous, then step in and stop it or educate them on why that might not be the most intelligent thing to do because they're going to blow their knee out or whatever the case is. But like, yeah, allow them room to breathe.
No, 100%. Let it go. Let people have fun and see where it takes
Yeah,
you. As long as it's safe, it's not hurting anybody.
yeah, cool, cool. Well, we talked a lot about belts
Yeah,
and
we got
we've
way off
covered
on
a
that.
lot of stuff. I was gonna start. I want to talk about your kids program, but we've been going a long time. I don't want to hold you up forever here.
Oh, no
But
worries. We can do this again. I'd be happy to do this again sometime.
oh yeah,
Like you know me, I'll talk for hours, man. Which we have.
yeah. I have a lot of people that I'd like to get on, but like I also want to see you podcasting more because I when you were on the podcast previous, before we even met, I was like, fuck man, this Joey has opinions that are like I'm always right there with him. I like his opinions. Even when the people don't agree with him, like I think we'd get along and then somehow we just ended up meeting one day and it's like, fuck yeah, we do get along. Let's go.
Yeah,
And yeah, I'd like to see you doing it more.
I'd love to do more like content stuff and stuff like this. My students are always telling me to like do content. Like we'll
Yeah.
go over. They'll ask me after class about something, and I'll like go down some weird rabbit hole with them. And they're like, "Dude, this like you needed to film this like explanation of how this works and put this on YouTube." And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like no one wants. I just have this weird thing where I'm like, no one wants to hear what I have to say. Like I said, I'm not like a world champion. I'm never gonna be a world champion. I haven't coached any world champions yet. I do think I got some on the way one day, but like not yet. Who cares what I have to say? Maybe one day people will listen.
You'd be surprised. I'm a dork from Saskatchewan that looks Amish and is like has a very small gym, but like people, some people hate me and I've got death threats. Other people like me and buy my shit and like whatever, man. Like none of that really matters. Like as long as there's some people who find value and I find value in what you do and could do, then send it. And
Maybe
as
one
long as it's enjoyable too, right?
maybe one day I'll start doing some stuff. I know the guys constantly are pestering me, so maybe I'll tell one of them like, listen, if you're willing to film and edit it, you can post whatever content of me you want. But that actually
I'm just
that
gonna
might
have
be
to.
that might be a disaster. They might get me in trouble if I let them start editing stuff. They're gonna get me
I'll just
canceled.
have to harass you and get you on more often, I guess, and force your hand.
Anytime, man. Yeah, I love chatting with you. So anytime you want to make content or anything, anytime you're in Edmonton, we can film some stuff. Or anytime I pop by, I'm more than down.
Yeah, I got to make another trip down there. I got to come pick my shorts up and just
Yeah,
come and
they're
train.
in the
So
gym. Yeah,
good.
I still got them.
Dylan shorts 2 years later. Fuck.
At some point, we'll see each other again.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thanks for chatting today.
Dude, thanks for having me, man.